The call at 2 a.m. How my husband's secret destroyed everything I believed about love. The phone rang at 2:17 a.m. I knew the exact time because I'd been staring at the ceiling for hours, counting the shadows that stretched across our bedroom like accusing fingers. Sleep had become a stranger to me lately. Something about turning 34 made rest feel like a luxury I couldn't afford. Too many thoughts, too many responsibilities, too many pieces of myself scattered across the roles I played: mother, wife, financial analyst, daughter, to parents who existed only in photographs now. The ringtone pierced the silence like a scream. Ryan stirred beside me, his breathing catching for just a moment before settling back into its steady rhythm. He could sleep through anything. I used to find that comforting, his ability to surrender to unconsciousness while I lay awake cataloging every worry, every unfinished task, every hairline crack in the life we'd built together. I reached for my phone on the nightstand expecting a wrong number, or maybe a spam call from overseas where time zones made 2 a.m. a reasonable hour for business. The screen showed unknown caller. I should have let it go to voicemail. Should have rolled over and tried once more to find that elusive thing called rest. But something instinct maybe, or that animal part of the brain that senses danger before the rational mind can catch up, made me answer. Hello. My voice came out rough, unused. Silence, but not empty silence. The kind where someone was definitely there, breathing, waiting, deciding. Then Sarah Mitchell, a woman's voice, unfamiliar, careful, like she was reading from a script she'd memorized but wasn't quite sure she wanted to deliver. Yes. Who is this? That doesn't matter. A pause. I heard traffic in the background, the distant wail of a siren. She was outside somewhere, calling from the street, perhaps. What matters is that your husband is hiding something from you, something that will destroy everything if you don't act now. My heart kicked against my ribs. I sat up slowly, careful not to disturb Ryan, and slipped out of bed. The hardwood floor was cold against my bare feet as I walked to the bathroom, closing the door behind me before I spoke again. I don't know who you are or what you think you know, but Check his safe, she interrupted. The one in his office. The password isn't your birthday or your anniversary. It's the birthday of the person he loves most in this world. Another pause, this one heavy with something I couldn't name. But it's not you. The line went dead. I stood in the bathroom, my phone still pressed to my ear, staring at my reflection in the mirror above the sink. The woman looking back at me had shadows under her eyes and hair that needed washing. She looked older than 34. She looked like someone who'd been treading water for so long she'd forgotten what it felt like to stand on solid ground. It's not you. Those 3 words echoed in my head like a diagnosis I didn't want to accept. I thought about waking Ryan, demanding answers. But what would I say? A stranger called and told me you have secrets that sounded paranoid, unhinged. The kind of thing that happened to other women, the ones who couldn't hold their marriages together, who let suspicion eat them alive from the inside out. I wasn't that woman. I was Sarah Mitchell. I had a master's degree in finance. I managed portfolios worth millions. I'd rebuilt my life after Marcus died, put the pieces back together, for Lily's sake, found love again when everyone said it was too soon. I wasn't the kind of woman who crept through her own house in the middle of the night looking for evidence of betrayal. Except apparently I was. Ryan's office was on the first floor, tucked behind the kitchen in what the real estate agent had called a bonus room when we'd toured the house 2 years ago. Back then, I'd imagined it as a playroom for Lily, a space filled with toys and laughter. But Ryan had claimed it for his architecture work, filling it with blueprints and material samples, and that massive oak desk he'd inherited from his father. And a safe, bolted to the floor behind a panel in the closet. I'd never questioned it. Architects kept valuable things, contracts, deeds, sometimes cash for emergency projects. It made sense. Everything Ryan did made sense. He was methodical, organized, the kind of man who color-coded his calendar and never missed a deadline. The kind of man who would never I pushed the thought away and knelt in front of the closet, sliding aside the panel. The safe was exactly where it had always been, a heavy black metal box with a digital keypad that glowed faintly in the darkness. The birthday of the person he loves most. Not me. My hands were shaking as I tried to think. Ryan's mother had died when he was 18. His father had passed 3 years before we met. He had a brother in Seattle, but they barely spoke. No close friends, really. Ryan was the kind of person who had many acquaintances, but few people he'd call in a crisis. Except Marcus. The thought came unbidden, unwelcome. Marcus had been Ryan's best friend since college. They'd lost touch after graduation, but reconnected about 5 years ago when Ryan moved to Portland for work. It was through Marcus that Ryan and I had eventually met at Marcus's funeral, actually where Ryan had given a eulogy that made me cry harder than I already was. Marcus had died 3 years ago in a car accident. Single vehicle collision on a rainy night, the kind of thing that happens when someone is driving too fast and the roads are slick, and fate decides it's time to remind you how fragile everything is. But Marcus's birthday, I knew it, because we'd celebrated it together for the 7 years we were married. November 15th, 11:15. I entered the numbers half expecting an error beep. Instead, the safe clicked open. Inside was a manila folder thicker than I expected. I pulled it out with hands that no longer felt like mine and carried it to Ryan's desk, turning on the small lamp that cast a pool of yellow light across the polished wood surface. The first document was a contract. Business letterhead formal language dated 8 years ago before Marcus died, before Ryan and I even knew each other existed. It was a loan agreement. Marcus borrowing $200,000 from Ryan for a real estate investment. My eyes skimmed the terms 5-year repayment period, modest interest rate collateral listed as future property development proceeds. The signature at the bottom was Marcus's. His handwriting, that confident scrawl I'd seen on birthday cards and grocery lists and love notes tucked into Lily's lunchbox. But there was something else. A second agreement dated just 3 months before Marcus died. An amendment to the original contract. The amount had increased to $350,000. The terms had changed. And there in the collateral section, personal assets including but not limited to frozen biological materials held at Pacific Northwest Fertility Center. Frozen biological materials. The room tilted sideways. Marcus and I had gone to that fertility center 4 years ago, shortly after Lily was born. We'd wanted more children, but I'd had complications with Lily's delivery. The doctor said another pregnancy might be risky. So we'd looked into alternative surrogacy adoption and, yes, storing Marcus's sperm just in case we decided to try IVF in the future. We'd made one deposit, filled out paperwork, made jokes about our backup baby plan. And then life got busy and we never went back. But apparently that deposit was still there. And apparently it had become collateral for a debt Marcus couldn't repay. I kept reading. Beneath the contracts were bank statements, transfers from Ryan to Marcus. Then, after Marcus died, transfers from Ryan to someone else. An account holder named J. Mitchell. My stomach dropped. Jessica. My little sister Jessica, who I hadn't spoken to in 5 years. Who'd vanished from my life after our parents' funeral, claiming I'd stolen her inheritance, that I'd manipulated them into leaving me everything simply because I was the oldest and more responsible. It had been a vicious fight. Words said that couldn't be unsaid. She'd accused me of being cold, calculating, of using my financial skills to convince our dying father to change his will. I'd told her she was selfish and immature, that she'd squandered every opportunity our parents had given her. We hadn't spoken since. I'd tried reaching out, emails, text messages, even showing up at her apartment once, but she'd blocked me everywhere, moved without leaving a forwarding address, erased me from her life as thoroughly as if I'd never existed. And now Ryan was sending her money. Thousands of dollars. Every month for the past 6 months. The last document in the folder was a medical record. From Pacific Northwest Fertility Center, dated 3 months ago. Patient name Jessica Mitchell. Procedure intrauterine insemination using donor specimen. Specimen ID matched to stored sample from Marcus Chen deceased. Status pregnancy confirmed. Estimated due date December 18th. I read it 3 times. Then 4. The words didn't change. My sister was pregnant. With Marcus's baby. Using the sperm he'd stored 4 years ago for us, for me and him, for the family we'd planned to build together. And Ryan had known. Had helped her. Had paid for it all while lying to me every single day for 6 months. The folder slipped from my hands and hit the desk with a sound like thunder. I didn't sleep. Couldn't even pretend to try. I sat in Ryan's office until the sky outside the window turned from black to gray to that pale blue that meant morning was coming whether I was ready for it or not. The folder sat in front of me. I'd read every document so many times I could recite them from memory. My sister was pregnant with my dead husband's child. The sentence felt impossible, like something that happened in a soap opera or a true crime podcast, not in real life. Not in my life, which I'd worked so hard to rebuild after Marcus died. Not in my carefully organized, sensible adult life where I paid my bills on time and packed nutritious lunches and made sure Lily brushed her teeth before bed. At 6:30, I heard footsteps on the stairs. Ryan was up. I could track his morning routine by sound-alone bathroom shower teeth, the coffee maker in the kitchen starting its familiar gurgle. I should have confronted him immediately. Should have marched into the kitchen with the folder and demanded answers. But something held me back. Maybe shock. Maybe the instinct that told me I needed to understand the full picture before I showed my hand. So instead, I put everything back in the safe exactly as I'd found it. Closed the panel. Turned off the lamp. Walked upstairs to wake Lily as if this was just another Thursday morning. "Mom?" Lily's voice was sleepy confused as I opened her bedroom curtains. "It's early." "I know, baby, but we need to get ready for school." She sat up, rubbing her eyes. 8 years old, and already she looked so much like Marcus. Those same dark eyes, that same stubborn set to her jaw when she was tired or angry. My beautiful girl who'd lost her father too young and was about to discover her family was even more complicated than she knew. "Are you okay, Mom?" "You look weird." I forced a smile. The same smile I'd perfected over the past 3 years, the one that said everything is fine, even when everything was falling apart. "Just didn't sleep well. Come on, let's get you dressed." By the time we made it downstairs, Ryan was at the kitchen table with his laptop and coffee already deep into his workday. He looked up when we entered, and for just a moment I saw a flicker of something in his eyes. Guilt fear. Or maybe I was imagining it, seeing shadows where there was only light. "Morning," he said, smiling at Lily. "Hey, kiddo, ready for school?" "I guess." Lily climbed into her chair, and I set a bowl of cereal in front of her. "Can Emma come over after school?" "Not today, baby. You have piano practice." "But Mom," "No arguments. Eat your breakfast." Ryan was watching me. I could feel his gaze like a physical weight. "Sarah, everything all right?" "No, nothing is all right. You've been lying to me. About my sister. About Marcus's sperm. About money that should have been for our daughter's future. Nothing is all right, and I don't know who you are anymore." But I didn't say any of that. Instead, I poured myself coffee and said, "Fine, just tired." "You should take the day off. You've been working too hard lately." "Can't. We have the Donnelly presentation this afternoon." "Right." He went back to his laptop. Case closed. Crisis averted. We were good at this, at performing normalcy, at skating over the surface of things we didn't want to examine too closely. We'd been married for 2 years, and sometimes I wondered if we really knew each other at all. I dropped Lily at Riverside Elementary at 7:45, watching her disappear into the building with her backpack bouncing against her small shoulders. She turned back once to wave, and I waved back, holding my smile until she was gone. Then I sat in my car in the parking lot and pulled out my phone. The call from last night, I'd saved the number, even though it had shown as unknown. I wasn't sure what I expected to find, but I needed to try. I called it back. It rang once, twice, then a robotic voice. "The number you have dialed is not in service." Of course. Whoever she was, she'd used a burner phone, untraceable, which meant this wasn't impulsive. Someone had planned this, thought it through, wanted to tell me just enough to send me searching, but not enough to reveal their identity. But why? Who would know about Jessica and Marcus and Ryan's safe? Who would care enough to call me in the middle of the night? I pulled up my contacts and scrolled to a name I hadn't called in over a year. David Chen. My colleague at Sterling Financial, but more than that, my friend, maybe the only real friend I had left after the past 3 years of grief and rebuilding, had scattered most of my social circle to the winds. David answered on the first ring. "Sarah, it's not even 8. You okay? Can we meet? I need to talk to someone and I don't—" My voice cracked. I cleared my throat, tried again. "I don't know who else to call." "Of course. Coffee, I can be at Morrison's in 20 minutes. "Thank you." I hung up and started the car, but before I could pull out of the parking lot, my phone buzzed with a text from a number I didn't recognize. "You found the safe. Good. Now you need to find your sister. She's at Providence Medical Center. Room 412. She doesn't have much time." My blood ran cold. "Who is this?" 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Then it appeared again. Someone who knows what it's like to be lied to by the people you trust most. "Go to the hospital, Sarah, before it's too late." I didn't go to meet David. Instead, I drove across town to Providence Medical Center, my mind racing faster than the car. She doesn't have much time. What did that mean? Was Jessica sick? Was something wrong with the pregnancy? And why would this mysterious caller, this woman who'd known about Ryan's safe, about the password, about everything, why would she care about Jessica's well-being? Unless she was connected to all of this in some way I hadn't figured out yet. Unless she had her own reasons for wanting me to know the truth. The hospital parking garage was nearly empty this early in the morning. I found a spot near the elevator and rode up to the 4th floor, my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. Room 412 was at the end of a long corridor. The door was partially open. I could hear voices inside, a woman's voice, and then a man's. Familiar. Ryan. Of course Ryan was here. Why wouldn't he be? He'd been involved in this from the beginning, paying for treatments, keeping secrets, playing the role of supportive friend or whatever he'd convinced himself he was doing. I should have turned around. Should have left and confronted him at home where Lily wouldn't accidentally overhear. But anger was a living thing inside me now, hot and bright, and it pushed me forward. I knocked once and walked in without waiting for an answer. Jessica was in the bed, looking smaller than I remembered. 5 years had changed her. Or maybe it was the hospital gown and the IV in her arm and the way her face was pale except for 2 spots of color high on her cheeks. But her eyes were the same. Green like our mother's. Hard like stones. Ryan stood beside the bed. He turned when I entered, and I watched the blood drain from his face. "Sarah, don't." I held up a hand. "Just don't." Jessica was staring at me like I was a ghost. "How did you—" "Someone called me. Told me about the safe, about the baby, about everything." I looked at Ryan. "Everything you've been hiding from me." "I can explain. Can you—" I stepped closer, and he actually backed up. "Good. He should be afraid. Can you explain why my sister is pregnant with my dead husband's child? Can you explain why you've been giving her money from our joint account without telling me? Can you explain why you're here right now instead of at work where you said you'd be?" "Sarah, please." Jessica's voice was weak but defiant. "You don't understand." "Then make me understand." I turned to her, and seeing her face, our mother's face, our shared genetics, the sister I'd lost made something crack inside me. "Help me understand why you do this. Why you'd take something that was mine and Marcus's and use it for yourself." "It wasn't yours." She said it quietly, but the words hit like a slap. "Not anymore. Not after he died. He was my husband. And he loved me." The room went silent. Ryan made a sound like he'd been punched. "Jess, don't—" "She deserves to know." Jessica pushed herself up higher on the pillows, wincing. "She deserves to know that perfect, loyal Marcus wasn't so perfect after all." My legs felt unsteady. I grabbed the edge of the bed to keep from falling. "What are you talking about?" Jessica looked at me, and in her eyes I saw something I'd never seen before, pity. "Marcus and I were together, Sarah, for over a year before he died. He loved both of us, but he loved me differently. He chose me. This baby—" She touched her stomach, swollen beneath the thin blanket. "This baby was his choice. He wanted me to have it. He left me instructions, legal documents, everything." "You're lying." "I wish I was." She reached for the bedside table and pulled out an envelope. Her hands were shaking as she handed it to me. "Read it. It's in his handwriting. His words." I didn't want to take it, didn't want to open it, but my hands moved of their own accord, pulling out the single sheet of paper inside. "My dearest Jessica," I recognized Marcus's handwriting immediately. The same handwriting from birthday cards and anniversary notes, and the letter he'd written to Lily to be opened on her 16th birthday. "If you're reading this, it means I'm gone, and you've decided to go through with what we discussed. I know this is hard. I know it's not fair to Sarah or to Lily, but I also know that I love you in a way that I can't explain or justify or make sense of to anyone else. I want you to have this child, our child. The one we planned, for the one that represents the life we could have had if I'd been brave enough to make different choices. Ryan will help you. I've asked him to watch over you to make sure you and the baby are safe. Don't hate him for keeping my secrets. He's doing what I asked because he's a better man than I ever was. Tell the baby about me. Tell them I loved them before they were even born. And tell Sarah." The letter ended there. Just stopped mid-sentence, as if Marcus had run out of words or courage or time. I looked up at Jessica, at Ryan, at these 2 people who'd known my husband in ways I apparently never did. When my voice sounded far away. When did it start? 4 years ago. Jessica wouldn't meet my eyes. At Mom and Dad's anniversary party, before they died, before everything fell apart. 4 years, while Lily was still a toddler, while Marcus and I were sleeping in the same bed every night, while I thought we were happy. Why didn't you tell me? I looked at Ryan. When Marcus died, why didn't you tell me? Because you were grieving. Ryan's voice was rough. You'd just lost your husband. Lily had just lost her father. I didn't want to make it worse. So you lied instead. For 3 years. And then I married you, and you kept lying. I wanted to tell you so many times, but you didn't. I folded the letter carefully and put it back in the envelope. My hands were steady now. The shock had burned away, leaving only a cold, clear rage. You both lied. And now I'm supposed to just accept this. Be okay with the fact that my dead husband had a whole other life I knew nothing about. Sarah, Jessica started. No, I backed toward the door. I can't do this right now. I need to think. Wait, Ryan followed me. Please just let me explain. Explain what? That you've been playing me for a fool since the day we met, that this whole marriage was built on lies. That's not fair. I laughed and it came out harsh and broken. You want to talk about fair? I lost my husband, then I lost my sister, then I lost my parents. And now I find out that the one person I thought I could trust, the one person I let myself love again, has been lying to me about all of it. I was in the hallway now. Ryan was still following me saying something, but I couldn't hear him over the ringing in my ears. I made it to the elevator, hit the button. The doors opened and I stepped inside. Ryan caught the door before it could close. Sarah, please, just come home and we'll talk about this. We'll figure it out. I looked at him, really looked at him, and saw a stranger. I don't know who you are. Yes, you do. I'm the man who loves you, who married you, who wants to spend his life with you. No, I pushed his hand away from the door. You're the man who lied to me. That's all you are now. The doors closed between us. I didn't remember driving to Morrison's coffee house. One moment I was in the hospital parking garage, gripping the steering wheel and trying to breathe. The next, I was sitting across from David Chen in a corner booth, a cup of coffee cooling in front of me while I told him everything. David listened without interrupting. That was one of the things I'd always appreciated about him, his ability to simply listen, to let silence hold space for difficult truths. When I finished, he let out a long breath. Jesus, Sarah. Yeah. What are you going to do? I don't know. I wrapped my hands around the coffee cup, needing its warmth even though I couldn't drink it. I keep thinking I should feel something more than just numb. I should be devastated or angry or something, but I just feel empty. That's shock. It'll hit you later. Maybe. I looked up at him. David had kind eyes behind his wire-rimmed glasses. We'd worked together for 6 years, ever since I'd joined Sterling Financial. He'd been there when Marcus died, had helped me navigate the complicated financial aftermath of sudden widowhood. Had been at my small wedding to Ryan 2 years ago, smiling and clapping and telling me he was happy for me. I wondered now if he'd known, if Ryan had told him any part of the truth. Did you know, I asked, about Marcus and Jessica? No, I swear, Sarah, I had no idea. I believed him. David was a terrible liar. He got this tell a little twitch at the corner of his mouth whenever he tried to bend the truth. It was one of the reasons he was so good at his job. Clients trusted him because they could tell he was being honest. Someone called me last night, I said. A woman. She's the one who told me about the safe about Jessica being at the hospital, but I don't know who she is or why she cares. A woman? David frowned. What did she sound like? I don't know. Youngish, nervous, like she was reading from a script. Could it have been someone from the fertility clinic, a whistleblower or something? Maybe. I hadn't considered that. But why would they care enough to get involved? Why risk their job? I don't know. But Sarah, David reached across the table and covered my hand with his. His touch was warm, steady. You need to be careful. If someone's feeding you information, they probably want something in return. What could I possibly have that anyone would want? I don't know, but nothing about this feels right. Marcus setting up this whole thing. Ryan keeping it secret. This mysterious caller. It's like someone's orchestrating all of this, and I'm worried you're walking into something you don't fully understand yet. He was right. I knew he was right. but I was too tired to care about being careful. I need to see Jessica again, I said. Alone, without Ryan there. Are you sure that's a good idea? No, but I need to hear her side of it. All of it, not just the parts Ryan wanted me to know. David squeezed my hand. Okay, but I'm coming with you. You don't have to. Yes, I do. His voice was firm. You're not going through this alone. Not this time. Something in my chest loosened slightly. Not enough to be called relief, but enough to remind me that I wasn't completely adrift, that there were still people in this world I could count on. Thank you, I whispered. Always, he said. We went back to Providence Medical Center that afternoon. I'd called the hospital first, pretending to be Jessica's sister, which technically was true, and learned she was being held overnight for observation. Some complications with the pregnancy, the nurse had said vaguely. Nothing serious, but the doctor wants to monitor her. Complications. My sister was having complications with my dead husband's baby, and somehow I was expected to care, to feel something other than this cold, hollow anger. David waited in the lobby while I went up alone. This conversation needed to happen between sisters without witnesses. Room 412 looked different in daylight. The curtains were open now, letting in weak October sunshine that did nothing to warm the sterile space. Jessica was sitting up in bed, picking at a tray of hospital food. She looked up when I entered, and I saw fear flash across her face before she masked it. I thought you'd left for good, she said. So did I. I pulled a chair close to the bed and sat. But I have questions, and you're going to answer them. I don't owe you anything. Maybe not, but you owe it to that baby to make sure I don't destroy everything before they're even born. Jessica's hand went protectively to her stomach. You wouldn't. I'm a financial analyst, Jess. I know how to trace money, how to prove fraud, how to make legal cases out of paper trails. If Marcus wasn't in his right mind when he made those arrangements, if someone coerced him or manipulated him, I can make sure this whole thing falls apart. It was a bluff, mostly, but Jessica didn't need to know that. Fine, she said. What do you want to know? Everything. Start from the beginning. When did it start, how, why? Jessica set down her fork and leaned back against the pillows. When she spoke, her voice was different, softer, almost wistful. Mom and Dad's anniversary party. 4 years ago, like I said. You remember that night? I did. It had been at our parents' favorite restaurant, a small Italian place in northwest Portland. Marcus and I had been fighting that week about something I couldn't even remember now, money probably, or my work hours, or one of the 100 small tensions that build up in a marriage. We'd put on happy faces for the party, but the whole night had felt hollow. I remember. Marcus and I ended up talking outside. You were inside with Mom and I needed air. He came out to smoke. Marcus didn't smoke. He did when he was stressed. You didn't know because he hid it from you. Jessica smiled sadly. He hid a lot of things from you, Sarah. Not because he didn't love you, but because you were so perfect, so put together. He said he felt like he was always disappointing you. The words stung because they felt true. I had expected a lot from Marcus, had wanted him to be ambitious, successful driven, had pushed him toward bigger jobs, better opportunities, had made lists and plans for our future while he just wanted to exist in the present. We started talking that night and we didn't stop, Jessica continued. Not for hours. And then it became every week. Coffee dates, lunch meetings. He told you he was networking for work, and technically that was true. He was meeting me. When did it become physical? About 6 months in. I didn't plan it. Neither did he. It just happened. It doesn't just happen, Jessica. You make choices. You're right. We made choices. Bad ones, probably. But we also couldn't stay away from each other. It was like... She searched for words. Like we were magnets. Like the universe wanted us together even though we knew it was wrong. That's not how the universe works. Maybe not, but that's how it felt. She looked at me directly now. I'm not going to apologize for loving him. I know it hurts you. I know it's not fair to you or Lily. But I loved Marcus and he loved me, and that's the truth whether you want to accept it or not. Did he say he was going to leave me? The question hung between us. Yes, Jessica said finally. He was planning to tell you. After Lily's birthday that year, you remember the princess party. He was going to wait until after that. He didn't want to ruin her childhood memories. But he died before he could. 3 weeks before. The accident. Her voice cracked. I think he was coming to see me that night. The roads were bad and he was driving too fast because he was upset about something. I never found out what. I thought about that night. The phone call from the police, the drive to the hospital. Marcus already dead by the time I arrived. I'd cried for days, weeks, had barely been able to function enough to plan the funeral. And the whole time Jessica had been grieving too. Quietly, secretly, for a relationship I'd known nothing about. Why didn't you come to the funeral? I asked. I couldn't. It would have been too hard to pretend I was just your sister, just someone who barely knew him. And I was angry at you. Angry at me for what? For having everything? Jessica's eyes were bright with tears now. You had his name, his ring, his daughter. You got to grieve publicly while I had to hide it. You got the insurance money, the sympathy, the casseroles from neighbors. I got nothing except this secret that was eating me alive. So you decided to have his baby. To what, punish me? No, to keep him alive. She touched her stomach again. When Ryan told me about the stored sperm that Marcus had left instructions in his will that I could use it, it felt like a gift, like one last chance to have something of him. Those instructions weren't legal. Marcus was married to me. Any biological materials were joint property. Ryan's lawyer said otherwise. Ryan's lawyer is wrong. I stood up. And you're going to find that out when I talk to my own attorney. Sarah. No, you don't get to Sarah me. You don't get to make this about love or fate or any of that bullshit. You slept with my husband. You're pregnant with his child. And you involved Ryan in lying to me for 6 months. I grabbed my purse. I'm going to figure out exactly what legal rights I have here. And then we're going to talk about what happens next. What do you mean? I mean that baby Marcus's baby has a sister, Lily. And I'm not going to let you just disappear with my daughter's sibling. If you want to play happy family with a dead man's sperm, fine, but you don't get to cut me out of it. I was at the door when Jessica called out, he wanted you to know. I turned back. Marcus, in that letter I showed you the one where he talked about us about the baby. There's a second page. I didn't show you because I wasn't sure you were ready, but maybe you should see it. She pulled the envelope from the bedside table again and held it out. I crossed the room and took it, pulling out not one sheet, but 2. The second page was shorter, just a few lines. And tell Sarah that I'm sorry. Sorry for being weak. Sorry for not having the courage to choose. Sorry for leaving both of you to deal with the mess I made. Retry JN continue. I loved her in the way you love someone who saved you, who pulled you out of grief after my parents died, who gave me Lily, who made me believe I could be better than I was. But I was never the man she needed me to be. I was always disappointing her, always falling short. I love you in the way you love someone who sees you exactly as you are and doesn't need you to be anything else. I should have made a choice, but I'm a coward, and cowards don't choose. We just let fate decide for us. If I'm gone, it means fate chose, and I hope somehow you both find peace with that. Marcus, I read it twice, then carefully folded both pages and put them back in the envelope. He was right about one thing, I said quietly. He was a coward. Jessica's face crumpled. Don't say that. Why not? It's true. He strung us both along because he didn't have the guts to face the consequences of his choices. He left us to clean up his mess while he gets to be the tragic hero who died too soon. He loved us. No, he loved himself, and he loved the way we made him feel. That's not the same thing. I walked back to the door. I'll be back tomorrow, with my lawyer, and we're going to sort out exactly what happens next with that baby, because whatever Marcus wanted, whatever you planned, none of it matters if I decide to fight you on this. Sarah, please. But I was all ready. David was waiting in the lobby, scrolling through his phone. He looked up when I approached, and whatever he saw in my face made him stand immediately. Let's get out of here, he said. We walked to his car in silence. Once inside, David didn't start the engine, just sat there, hands on the wheel, waiting. He was having an affair, I said. My voice sounded strange, too calm, too detached. With my sister, for over a year before he died. And apparently he was planning to leave me. Jesus. And Ryan knew, has known the whole time. He's been helping Jessica with the pregnancy, paying for everything, keeping Marcus's secrets even after he married me. I'm going to kill him. Get in line. David turned to look at me. What do you need? Right now, what do you need? That was the question, wasn't it? What did I need? I needed Marcus to be alive so I could yell at him. I needed Jessica to disappear back into whatever life she'd built away from me. I needed Ryan to have been honest from the beginning. I needed the past 3 years to rewind so I could make different choices. But none of those things were possible. I need to pick up Lily from school, I said. And then I need to figure out how to explain to my 8-year-old daughter that her family is even more complicated than she thought. You don't have to tell her everything right now. No, but I have to tell her something. She's not stupid, David. She knows something's wrong. She asked me this morning if I was sick. What did you say? I lied. Told her I was fine, just like Marcus lied to me, just like Ryan's been lying to me, just like everyone in my life apparently lies. I pressed my palms against my eyes. God, I'm so tired of lies. David reached over and pulled me into an awkward hug across the console. I let myself sink into it for just a moment, let myself be held by someone who wasn't asking anything from me, who wasn't hiding secrets or making plans behind my back. Thank you, I whispered against his shoulder. Always, he said again. I picked up Lily at 3:15, the same as every day. She climbed into the back seat, chattering about her day, about art class, and the story her teacher read, and how Emma had shared her cookies at lunch. Normal. Everything was normal in Lily's world because I'd made sure of it. Because that's what mothers do. We hold things together even when we're falling apart. Is Ryan going to be home for dinner? Lily asked as we pulled into our driveway. Ryan, not Dad. She'd never called him that, even though he'd tried gently to encourage it. She had a dad, she'd told me once, and he was in heaven. Ryan was just Ryan. Smart kid. I don't think so, baby. He's working late tonight. Lie. I had no idea where Ryan was or what he was doing. I'd ignored his 17 calls and 32 text messages. Eventually, he'd stopped trying. We went inside and I made Lily a snack while she did her homework at the kitchen table. I watched her bent over her math worksheet, her tongue poking out slightly in concentration, and felt my heart break all over again. She was going to have a sibling. A half-sibling, technically, but still. A baby brother or sister with her father's DNA. And somehow I was going to have to explain that to her in a way that didn't shatter her world. My phone buzzed. Another text from Ryan. Please, just let me explain. I'm at David's. He said you were there earlier. I stared at the message. Ryan was at David's. Why would my phone ring? David. Sarah Ryan showed up at my apartment. He's pretty upset. Do you want me to send him away or put him on? A pause. Then Ryan's voice rough and desperate. Sarah, please, just talk to me. I don't have anything to say to you. Then listen. Just listen. He took a shaky breath. I know I fucked up. I know I should have told you everything from the beginning, but I was trying to protect you. Don't. My voice came out sharp enough that Lily looked up from her homework. I walked into the hallway, lowering my voice. Don't you dare tell me this was about protecting me. You were protecting yourself. Protecting your friendship with a dead man. Protecting whatever weird sense of obligation you felt to Jessica. That's not fair. You want to talk about fair, fine. Let's talk about how you've been using our joint account to pay for your ex-best friend's mistress to have his baby. Let's talk about how you married me knowing all of this and never once thought I deserved to know the truth. Let's talk about how you made me feel crazy for thinking something was wrong when my instincts were screaming that you were hiding something. I wanted to tell you so many times, but you didn't. That's the point, Ryan. You didn't. You made a choice every single day to keep lying to me. And now you don't get to act like you're the victim here. I'm not. I know I'm not. But Sarah, I love you. That was never a lie. Everything I feel for you is real. How am I supposed to believe that? How am I supposed to trust anything you say when your entire relationship with me has been built on deception? Silence. Then, what do you want me to do? I want you to not come home tonight. I want space to think. And I want you to understand that I might decide I can't do this anymore. That I can't be married to someone who lies to me about things this big. Sarah, I have to go. Lily needs me. I hung up before he could say anything else. Lily was in bed by 8:30, but I heard her moving around up there, getting up for water, going to the bathroom, any excuse to delay sleep. Finally, at 9:30, I went upstairs and found her sitting on her bed with her favorite stuffed rabbit clutched to her chest. Can't sleep? I asked from the doorway. She shook her head. I came in and sat on the edge of her bed. What's wrong, baby? Where's Ryan? Working late. Is that true? The question caught me off guard. I looked at my daughter, my perceptive, too smart for her own good daughter, and saw that she knew I was lying. Maybe not the details, but the shape of it. No, I said quietly. That's not true. Are you getting divorced again? The word again hit like a fist, because Lily remembered what it was like when her father died, how everything changed, how I cried for months and barely held it together, how she'd learned early that families weren't permanent, that people left even when you needed them. I don't know, I said honestly. Ryan and I are having some problems, grown-up problems. But whatever happens, you're safe and loved. Okay? Is it my fault? Oh, baby, no. God, no. I pulled her into my lap even though she was getting too big for it. Nothing about this is your fault. This is about choices. Ryan made choices I made. It has nothing to do with you. But if you hadn't married him because of me... Stop. Lily, look at me. I tilted her face up so I could see her eyes. I married Ryan because I wanted to, because I thought he was a good man who would be good to us. If I was wrong about that, it's on me, not you. She was quiet for a moment. Then, I heard you talking on the phone about Aunt Jessica. My blood ran cold. What did you hear? That she's going to have a baby, and that it's Daddy's baby somehow. I closed my eyes. Of course she'd heard. Our house wasn't that big, and Lily had her father's habit of appearing silently in doorways. Yes, I said. That's true. How? And there it was, the question I'd been dreading. How do you explain to an 8-year-old about frozen sperm and fertility clinics and affairs? How do you tell your daughter that her father had a whole other life she knew nothing about? Your daddy and I, we went to a special doctor before he died, a doctor who could help us have another baby if we wanted to. They kept some of Daddy's cells, like the cells you learn about in science class. Lily nodded slowly. She'd just finished a unit on biology. Aunt Jessica went to that same doctor and used those cells to get pregnant. So the baby is your daddy's baby, which means I'm going to have a brother or sister, a half-brother or half-sister, yes. I watched her process this, watched the emotions flicker across her face, confusion, curiosity, something that might have been excitement. Will I get to meet them? I don't know yet, baby. That's one of the things I have to figure out. I want to. She said it firmly with Marcus's stubbornness. I want to know my brother or sister, even if it's weird, even if Aunt Jessica was mean to you. It's complicated. Everything's complicated. She pulled back to look at me. But they're my family, right? Like you always say, family is important. She had me there. I'd spent years telling Lily that family mattered, that blood ties were sacred, that we took care of our own. And now I was faced with the reality of that philosophy when it came with a side of betrayal and lies. You're right, I said. They are your family, and we'll figure out how to make that work, I promise. Okay, she settled back against me. Mom, are you mad at Daddy? Yes, very mad. Even though he's dead. Especially because he's dead. Because he can't explain himself or apologize or fix what he broke. That's sad. Yeah, baby, it is. We sat like that for a while, mother and daughter holding each other in the wreckage of revelations. Eventually, Lily fell asleep in my arms, and I carried her to bed, tucked her in, kissed her forehead. In the doorway, I paused and looked back at her. My brave girl, my resilient, beautiful daughter who'd already lost so much and was about to navigate even more complicated waters. She deserved better than this. Better than Marcus's cowardice, better than Jessica's selfishness, better than Ryan's lies. And I was going to make sure she got it. The next morning, I called Amanda Torres, the best divorce attorney in Portland. We'd met at a charity event last year, and she'd given me her card with the standard, "Call me if you ever need anything" line that people say at networking events. I was calling in that offer. Her assistant put me through immediately. "Sarah Mitchell," Amanda said. "I was wondering when I'd hear from you." "You were, Honey, I've been in this business 20 years. I know when a marriage is in trouble before the couple does. You and Ryan Cooper, you had that look at the event, like you were trying too hard." I wasn't sure whether to be offended or impressed. I need help, legal help. I figured. Come by my office at 2. We'll talk. Amanda Torres's office was in the Pearl District, all glass and steel and expensive art. Her assistant offered me coffee while I waited in the reception area, flipping through a magazine without seeing any of the pages. At exactly 2 tuzzers, Amanda appeared. She was in her 50s, with steel gray hair cut in a sharp bob and the kind of presence that made you straighten your spine automatically. Sarah, come on back. Her office overlooked the Willamette River. I sat in one of her leather chairs and tried not to feel intimidated. So, Amanda said, settling behind her desk, tell me everything, and I mean everything. Don't leave anything out because you're embarrassed or because you think it doesn't matter. I need the whole picture. So I told her about the phone call at 2 a.m., about Ryan's safe and Marcus's letter, about Jessica and the baby and the affair and the lies, all of it laid out in the harsh light of day. When I finished, Amanda was quiet for a long moment. Then she leaned back in her chair and said, "Well, this is a clusterfuck." Despite everything, I almost laughed. That's one way to put it. Let's break this down legally. First, the pregnancy. You said Jessica used stored sperm from your late husband. Yes, from Pacific Northwest Fertility Center. And Ryan has been financing this with our joint account. $45,000 over 6 months. Amanda made notes. Okay, here's the thing about biological materials stored during a marriage. In Washington state, they're considered joint property until one spouse dies. After death, it gets murky. If Marcus left specific instructions that Jessica could use his sperm, and if those instructions were properly documented, they were. He left a letter. Legal documents, apparently. Then Jessica probably has a legal right to proceed with the pregnancy. But Amanda held up a finger. The money Ryan spent is another matter. That came from a joint account, which means you have a right to half of it. If you can prove he used your money without your consent for something that wasn't a marital expense, you can potentially recover that. I don't want the money back. I stopped. What did I want? I want to make sure Lily has access to her sibling. I want legal protection so Jessica can't just disappear with the baby. That's doable. We can petition for visitation rights, especially if you position it as being in Lily's best interest. Courts generally like to keep siblings connected. Amanda made more notes. Now about Ryan. Do you want a divorce? I don't know. Maybe. Probably. I can't think clearly right now. That's fine. You don't have to decide today, but we should start documenting everything anyway. Bank statements, text messages, that letter from Marcus, all of it. If you do decide to divorce, we'll need evidence of Ryan's financial misconduct. He lied to me for 2 years. I know, and that's morally reprehensible. But legally, it's harder to prove, unless he signed a prenup promising full financial disclosure. We didn't have a prenup. Then we're looking at standard community property division. But the money he gave Jessica that could be considered misappropriation of joint funds, we might be able to make a case. I rubbed my temples. This is so much more complicated than I thought. It always is. Amanda's voice gentled slightly. Sarah, can I give you some advice? Not as your lawyer, but as someone who's been through 3 divorces herself. Please, take a breath. You don't have to make all these decisions right now. You don't have to file tomorrow or next week or even next month. What you do need to do is protect yourself. Get your own bank account. Make sure you have access to important documents. Change your passwords. And most importantly, she leaned forward. Figure out what you actually want. Not what you think you should want, not what's fair or right or justified. What do you want for your life and for Lily? I want to not feel like an idiot for trusting people. That's a start, but it's not enough. You need to get angry, Sarah. Really angry. Because right now you're still in shock, still trying to be reasonable and mature about this. But these people, your dead husband, your sister, your current husband, they all betrayed you in fundamental ways, and you're allowed to be furious about that. I am angry. No, you're hurt and confused and trying to hold it together for your daughter. That's different. Amanda stood. Go home. Scream into a pillow if you need to. Break some dishes. Do whatever you need to do to let yourself feel this. And then when you're ready, we'll figure out how to move forward. I didn't break dishes. I didn't scream into pillows. Instead, I did what I'd always done when life became overwhelming. I made a spreadsheet. It was nearly midnight. Lily was asleep upstairs. Ryan had texted again. Please come home, we need to talk. but I'd ignored it. The house felt different now, like a set piece in someone else's life. Everything looked the same, but nothing felt right. I opened my laptop at the kitchen table and created a new document. Titled it, Project Truth. Column A date, column B event, column C evidence, column D questions, column E actions needed. I started filling it in chronologically beginning 4 years ago with Marcus and Jessica's affair, the anniversary party, the coffee dates, the escalation to physical intimacy, Marcus's loan from Ryan, the fertility clinic visits, the pregnancy, 2 years of lies from Marcus, 6 months of lies from Ryan, 5 years of silence from Jessica. The numbers told a story the way numbers always did. But this time the story was my life falling apart in neat, organized rows. I was on row 37 when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. You're asking the right questions, but you're not asking them to the right people. My heart jumped. The mysterious caller. I typed back immediately, "Who are you?" 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Someone who knows what Ryan is really hiding. Check Marcus's life insurance policy, the one Ryan helped him set up. Look at the beneficiaries. What am I looking for? The date it was changed, and who benefits if Jessica's baby is born alive. The dots disappeared. I tried calling the number, but it went straight to a generic voicemail. Another burner phone, probably. I stared at the message. Marcus's life insurance. I'd received a payout after his death, $500,000 that had helped pay off our mortgage and set up Lily's college fund. The policy had been straightforward, or so I'd thought. I was the beneficiary with Lily as the contingent beneficiary. But this person was suggesting there was more to it. I pulled up our shared documents folder on the computer, searching for the insurance paperwork. Found the original policy from 6 years ago. Everything looked normal, me as primary beneficiary, Lily as secondary. But then I found a second document, an amendment dated 3 months before Marcus died, scanned and uploaded by Ryan according to the file properties. I opened it. The amendment added a new provision. If a biological child of Marcus Chen was born posthumously within 5 years of his death, said child would be entitled to an equal share of the death benefit with any existing children. My hands started shaking. When the insurance company had paid out, they'd only known about Lily. Jessica wasn't pregnant yet, the baby hadn't been conceived, so I'd received the full amount for Lily and myself. But if Jessica's baby was born alive, and if the insurance company found out about this amendment, they could potentially demand repayment. Half of what I'd already received would legally belong to Jessica's child. $250,000. That's what this was really about. Not love, not Marcus's legacy, money. I grabbed my phone and called David. He answered on the second ring, voice groggy. "Sarah, it's almost 1 a.m. I need you to help me with something. Financial forensics. Can you come over now?" Now. He heard something in my voice, urgency maybe, or the edge of panic I was trying to keep at bay. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. David arrived 18 minutes later, looking rumpled in sweatpants and a Stanford hoodie. I'd made coffee strong black, the kind we survived on during deadline season at work. "Talk to me," he said, settling at the kitchen table. I showed him everything. The insurance amendment, the text messages from the unknown caller, the spreadsheet I'd been building. David read through it, all his expression growing darker with each document. When he finished, he looked up at me with something like fury in his eyes. "Ryan set this up," he said flatly. "This whole thing. Marcus's loan, the fertility clinic arrangements, the insurance amendment, Ryan orchestrated all of it." "But why? What does he gain?" "I don't know yet. But Sarah..." David pulled the laptop toward him and started typing rapidly. "Give me access to your bank accounts. All of them. Anything you shared with Ryan. What are you looking for? Patterns, inconsistencies, anything that doesn't add up." His fingers flew over the keyboard. If Ryan was willing to lie about Jessica and the baby, what else was he lying about? I gave him the login credentials. Watched him work, pulling up statements, credit card transactions, investment accounts. His face grew more grim with each screen. "Sarah," he said finally, "when did Ryan start working as an architect?" "About 8 years ago. Why?" "And you said Marcus's loan to him was for a real estate investment." "That's what the contract said." "Look at this." David turned the laptop to show me a series of transactions. Ryan's been making deposits into offshore accounts. Small amounts spread out over time. Easy to miss if you're not looking. but they add up to over $600,000. My stomach dropped. That's more than Marcus borrowed from him. Exactly, which means Ryan wasn't losing money on Marcus's investment. He was making it. A lot of it. David kept typing. And look at this, Ryan's company Cooper Architecture has a silent partner, listed as JM Holdings LLC. JM, I said slowly. Jessica Mitchell. Or it could be a shell company. Let me dig deeper. More typing. Yeah, JM Holdings was established 4 years ago, right around the time Marcus and Jessica started their affair. And guess who's listed as the registered agent? Ryan. Bingo. David sat back. Sarah, I think Ryan and Jessica have been business partners this whole time. The affair between Marcus and Jessica, I'm not sure that was ever real. Or if it was, it became something else. Something more transactional. What are you saying? I'm saying this whole thing might have been a con. Marcus had money or access to money through you. Jessica needed money. Ryan needed money. And somehow they all ended up working together. But Marcus is dead. You can't con a dead man. No, but you can con his widow. David met my eyes. The insurance payout, the fertility clinic. This baby Sarah, what if the plan all along was to get you to fall in love with Ryan, to give him access to your finances, and then use Jessica and this baby to manipulate you into giving up even more? The room seemed to tilt. That's insane. Is it? Think about it. Ryan was conveniently there after Marcus died. He was supportive, helpful, romantic at just the right time. You were vulnerable, grieving alone with a young daughter. You were the perfect target. But we were married for 2 years before I found out about any of this. Long con, David said. The baby wasn't supposed to be born for another 2 months. Ryan probably planned to tell you about it closer to the due date when you'd be too emotionally invested to walk away. He'd paint himself as the loyal friend trying to honor Marcus's wishes. You'd feel guilty about keeping Lily from her sibling. And gradually, bit by bit, he'd convince you to share your resources with Jessica for the baby's sake. You're making him sound like a criminal. Maybe he is. David closed the laptop. Sarah, I think we need to go to the police. And tell them what? That my husband lied to me. That's not illegal. Financial fraud is. If Ryan has been misrepresenting his business dealings, hiding assets, using shell companies to evade taxes, that's all very illegal. And if he and Jessica conspired to defraud you through this insurance scheme, that's criminal conspiracy. I wanted to argue, wanted to say David was being paranoid, seeing patterns that weren't there. But deep down, I knew he was right. Too many things didn't add up. Too many coincidences. Ryan finding me at Marcus's funeral, was that really chance? Ryan being so patient with my grief, was that really love? Ryan proposing after only 6 months, was that really romance? Or was it all calculated, every smile, every touch, every whispered "I love you" in the dark? I need to talk to Jessica again, I said, alone, without Ryan knowing. That's dangerous. I don't care. If this was all a con, if I've been played this whole time, I need to hear it from her. I stood up, suddenly restless. And I need to find out who's been texting me. Because whoever it is, they know everything. They know about the safe, about the insurance, probably about the shell companies too. Someone is trying to help me or trying to use me for their own agenda. Either way, I need to know who. David checked his watch. It's almost 2 a.m. So Jessica is in the hospital, with security. You can't just walk in and interrogate her in the middle of the night. Watch me. Providence Medical Center at 2:30 a.m. was a different world than during daylight hours. The hallways were dim quiet, except for the occasional beep of monitors and soft-soled footsteps of night shift nurses. I'd texted Jessica from the parking lot. We need to talk. Now. If you don't want me calling hospital security and the police, you'll see me. She'd responded within seconds. Room 412. Come alone. David had insisted on coming, but agreed to wait in the car. 30 minutes, he'd said. If I don't hear from you by 3, I'm coming in. The elevator ride to the 4th floor felt eternal. When I finally reached Jessica's room, I found the door open and my sister sitting up in bed, looking small and scared in the harsh fluorescent light. Close the door, she said. I did, then pulled a chair close to the bed. Tell me the truth. All of it, starting with Ryan. What about Ryan? Did you know him before Marcus died? Jessica's face went carefully blank. He was Marcus's friend. Don't lie to me. I've seen the shell companies, the offshore accounts. JM Holdings. So I'll ask you again, how long have you known Ryan Cooper? For a long moment, Jessica just stared at me. Then something in her seemed to break. 10 years, she whispered. I met him first, before Marcus even knew him. We were dating, Ryan and me, in Seattle when I was in grad school. Jessica's hands twisted the blanket. It was serious. We talked about getting married, and then I got pregnant. The room went silent except for the hum of medical equipment. You have a child, I asked. I had a miscarriage, at 20 weeks. Jessica's voice cracked. It destroyed me, destroyed us. Ryan, he blamed me, said I'd been working too hard, stressing too much. Said it was my fault the baby died. We broke up and I moved to Portland to get away from him. And then what? He followed you? Not right away. About a year later, he reached out. Said he was sorry that he'd been dealing with his own grief badly. We started talking again, just as friends. She looked at me. And then I met Marcus at Mom and Dad's anniversary party. Your Marcus. He was everything Ryan wasn't: soft, kind, attentive. I fell for him hard. And Ryan encouraged it. He and Marcus became friends, close friends. I thought Ryan was being mature, moving on. But now I think... She stopped. Think what? I think Ryan was planning this from the beginning, using Marcus to get to you. Why would he want to get to me? I didn't have money back then. Marcus and I were just starting out. No, but you had potential. Your career in finance, your connections. Ryan did his research. Jessica pulled out her phone with shaking hands. After you left yesterday, I started going through old messages. Look at this. She showed me a text thread from 4 years ago. Ryan to Jessica. How's the rich sister doing? Still married to my buddy Marcus. Jessica. Don't call her that. Ryan, why not? It's true. Sarah Mitchell, financial analyst extraordinaire, making 6 figures while the rest of us scrape by. Must be nice. Jessica. She works hard for that money. Ryan, so do we. Difference is she was born with advantages. Right family, right education, right opportunities. Some of us have to be more creative. The texts continued. Ryan asking about my job, my assets, my relationship with Marcus. Casual questions that Jessica had answered because she thought they were just making conversation. He was gathering information, I said slowly, learning everything he could about me. I didn't realize it at the time, but yes. Jessica scrolled further. And then Marcus came to Ryan with a business proposal, some real estate deal. Ryan convinced him to borrow money instead of asking you because he knew you'd want to see all the paperwork, do due diligence. He told Marcus you'd just worry unnecessarily. And Marcus went along with it. Marcus was in over his head. The affair with me, the stress of lying to you, the business deal that was more complicated than he understood. Ryan was the one who suggested Marcus set up the fertility clinic arrangements. Said it was a romantic gesture planning for our future. But it wasn't romantic. It was strategic. I didn't see it. Jessica's voice was thick with tears now. I was so in love with Marcus, so desperate to believe we had a future that I didn't question any of it. And then Marcus died and Ryan was there being supportive, helping me through the grief. He's the one who told me about the letter Marcus left about the stored sperm. He said it was what Marcus would have wanted. But Marcus didn't leave a letter. Ryan wrote it. I don't know, maybe. The handwriting looked right, but... She trailed off. After the funeral, Ryan told me Marcus had debts. Business debts that I was responsible for as his partner. He said if I didn't find a way to pay them back, he'd have to tell you everything. About the affair, about the business, all of it. He knew I'd do anything to keep that secret from you. So you agreed to the pregnancy. He said the insurance money would solve everything. That if I had Marcus's baby, we could claim the child's portion of the death benefit. It would pay off the debts and we'd be even. Jessica looked at me. But the debts kept growing. First it was $50,000, then $100,000. He kept saying Marcus had borrowed more than I knew, that there were complications, legal fees. I didn't have access to Marcus's financial records, so I had to take Ryan's word for it. And then Ryan married me. I didn't know he was going to do that. Jessica said it quickly, desperately. I swear, Sarah, when you started dating him, I tried to tell myself it was a coincidence, that he really loved you. But then he came to me and said this was perfect, that being married to you would make everything easier. He could help me with the baby and you'd never suspect anything, because why would he be working against his own wife? Jesus Christ. I stood up, paced to the window. Outside, Portland was dark and sleeping, unaware that my entire life had been a carefully constructed lie. I wanted to tell you so many times, Jessica said, but I was scared. Scared of Ryan, scared of losing the baby, scared of what you'd think of me. I'm so sorry, Sarah. I'm so fucking sorry. I turned back to her. Is any of it true? Did you really love Marcus? Yes, that part was real. Marcus and we did love each other. Or at least I thought we did. Now I don't know what was real and what Ryan manipulated us into feeling. And the baby, Jessica's hand went to her stomach. The baby is real, and it is Marcus's. That much I know for sure. The clinic ran DNA tests to make sure. This baby is your daughter's half-sibling. Does Ryan know you're telling me all this? No, he thinks I'm still under his control. But Sarah, Jessica leaned forward urgently. You need to be careful. Ryan is not who you think he is. If he finds out you know the truth, I don't know what he'll do. What do you mean? Marcus's accident. The night he died. Jessica's voice dropped to a whisper. Ryan was supposed to meet him that night. They were going to finalize some business deal, but Ryan never showed up, and Marcus crashed his car on a road he'd driven 100 times in conditions that weren't even that bad. You think Ryan? I don't know what to think, but doesn't it seem convenient Marcus dies right before he was going to tell you about us, right before the business deal went through, and Ryan was the only one who benefited? The room felt too small suddenly, too hot. I pulled out my phone. What are you doing? Jessica asked. Calling the police. Sarah, wait. No more waiting. If there's even a possibility that Ryan had something to do with Marcus's death, I need to tell someone. And you're going to tell them everything you just told me. What about the baby, if I cooperate with the police? If this all comes out, Ryan said he'd make sure I never saw a cent of the insurance money. I won't be able to take care of my child. I'll take care of it. The words came out before I'd fully thought them through. The baby is Lily's sibling. That makes them family. And I take care of my family even when they've hurt me. Jessica started crying. Real tears this time, not the manipulative kind I'd seen from her in the past. Why are you being nice to me after everything I've done? I'm not being nice. I'm being strategic. I looked at her. You're going to testify against Ryan. You're going to tell the police and the lawyers and anyone else who needs to hear it exactly what he's done. And in exchange, I'll make sure you and that baby are protected. Deal. Deal. I dialed David's number. He answered immediately. Sarah, are you okay? Call the police, and then call Amanda Torres. We're going to need both. Detective Maria Santos was a short woman with sharp eyes and an impressive poker face. She listened to our story, mine, Jessica's, and David's, corroborating financial evidence without interrupting. When we finished, she sat back in her chair and said, This is a mess. We were in an interview room at Portland Police Bureau's downtown precinct. It was 4:30 a.m. I'd called Lily's babysitter, a college student who'd been watching her occasionally, to stay overnight at our house. Lily was still asleep, safe, unaware that her mother was about to blow up what was left of their family. Marcus Chen's death was ruled an accident, Detective Santos continued. Single vehicle collision, no signs of foul play. We'd need a lot more than suspicions to reopen that case. But the financial fraud, David started, is more promising. If Ryan Cooper has been running shell companies, hiding assets, and conspiring to defraud Mrs. Mitchell through an insurance scheme, we can look into that. She made notes. But I need to be clear, this is going to take time. Weeks, maybe months. Financial crimes are complex. We'll need to subpoena bank records, interview witnesses, build a case. And Ryan will lawyer up immediately. What about Jessica's safety? I asked. If Ryan finds out she's talking to you, we can arrange protection. Keep her in the hospital under guard while we investigate. But Ms. Mitchell, she looked at Jessica, you're going to need to be fully cooperative. No holding back, no protecting anyone. If you're serious about this, you need to tell us everything. I will, Jessica said. I'm done protecting Ryan. Detective Santos turned to me. And you, Mrs. Mitchell, you need to go home and act like nothing has happened. Don't confront Ryan. Don't let him know you're suspicious. If he thinks you're on to him, he could destroy evidence or disappear. You want me to just go back to my house? Pretend everything is normal. For now, yes. Can you do that? I thought about Lily asleep in her room, about school drop-offs and piano lessons and all the mundane routines of our life. about sitting across the breakfast table from Ryan, smiling, lying, playing a role the way he'd been playing one for 2 years. Yes, I said, I can do that. I got home at 6:00 a.m. just as the sky was starting to lighten, crept upstairs to check on Lily, who was still sleeping peacefully, thanked the babysitter, and sent her home. Then stood in my bedroom doorway looking at the bed I'd shared with Ryan, trying to figure out how to proceed. My phone buzzed. Ryan, where are you? I've been worried sick, couldn't sleep, went for a drive, coming home now. Thank God. We need to talk. I know. Tonight after Lily's in bed. I showered, changed, went through all the motions of a normal morning, made breakfast, woke Lily, got her ready for school. And when Ryan's car pulled into the driveway at 7:30, I took a deep breath and prepared to give the performance of my life. He came in through the kitchen door looking haggard. His eyes were red-rimmed, his hair uncombed. He looked like a man who'd spent the night in his car, which he probably had. Sarah, I held up a hand. Not now. Lily's getting her backpack. Understanding flickered across his face. We couldn't talk about this in front of my daughter. He nodded and went to pour himself coffee, hands shaking slightly. Lily appeared, backpack bouncing. She looked between us, sensing the tension. Is everything okay? Everything's fine, baby, I said, forcing brightness into my voice. Ryan just had a long night at work. Come on, let's get you to school. In the car, Lily was quiet. Finally, as we pulled into the school parking lot, she said, You're really bad at pretending, Mom. What, you and Ryan, you're both pretending everything's okay, but it's not. I'm not stupid. I turned off the engine and looked at my daughter. 8 years old, and already she could see through my lies. Marcus's perceptiveness, my analytical mind. A dangerous combination. You're right, I said. Things aren't okay, but I promise you I'm going to fix them. Can you trust me on that? Are you going to leave Ryan? I don't know yet. Maybe. Okay. She unbuckled her seatbelt. I like Ryan, but I like you more. So if you need to leave him, that's okay. She got out of the car and headed toward the school without looking back, leaving me sitting there with tears in my eyes. When I got home, Ryan was waiting at the kitchen table. 2 cups of coffee. The morning paper folded between us like a peace offering. Thank you for coming back, he said. I sat down across from him, picked up the coffee he'd made for me, the right amount of cream, no sugar, just how I liked it. A detail he'd learned about me during our courtship. Was that real, or had that been reconnaissance too? I talked to Jessica, I said, keeping my voice neutral, careful. I know, she told me. Ryan ran a hand through his hair. Sarah, I know how this looks. Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you've been lying to me since the day we met. About Marcus, about Jessica, about everything. Not everything. My feelings for you, those were always real. Were they? Or was I just convenient, the wealthy widow with a child grieving and vulnerable and easy to manipulate? That's not... He stopped, took a breath. Okay, I need to tell you something, and I need you to listen until I'm done. Fine. I did know about Marcus and Jessica before I met you. Marcus told me about the affair, asked me for advice. I told him he needed to make a choice, that he couldn't keep stringing both of you along. Ryan's hands were wrapped around his coffee cup. And the business loan that was real. Marcus wanted to invest in real estate. I helped him set it up, but the investment went bad. Really bad. Marcus lost everything and then some. And the shell companies. Ryan's face went carefully blank. What shell companies? JM Holdings, the offshore accounts, the $600,000 you've been hiding. I watched him calculate, watched him try to figure out how much I knew, how much I could prove. Finally, how did you find out about that? Does it matter? I guess not. He set down his coffee. Yes, I set up shell companies, but not to con you, Sarah. To protect myself from Marcus's debts. When he died, I was on the hook for $350,000 that he'd borrowed. I couldn't pay it back. So I restructured things, made it look like the investment companies were separate entities. It was technically legal, just complicated. And marrying me, was that part of protecting yourself, too? No, I married you because I fell in love with you, because you were strong and smart and you didn't need me to save you. Do you know how rare that is? His voice cracked. Every other woman I dated wanted me to fix them, to be their hero. But you were already whole. I could just be with you. It was a good speech, probably rehearsed, but there was something in his eyes, desperation maybe, or fear, that made me wonder if some of it was true. "What about Jessica's baby?" I asked. "The insurance money." "That was Marcus's idea. Really. He wanted Jessica to have his child. He made me promise I'd help her after he died. The insurance amendment, he set that up himself. I just executed his wishes. And the baby's due date being delayed so you'd have more time to prep me. That's just coincidence." Ryan's face paled. "Who told you that?" "Answer the question." "I didn't, Sarah. I swear I didn't delay anything. Jessica had some complications. That's why she's in the hospital now. The baby might come early." I studied him, looking for tells for cracks in the facade. But Ryan had always been good at this, at seeming sincere even when he was lying. "I don't know what to believe anymore," I said finally. "Then don't believe anything. Just give me a chance to prove myself. Let me show you that whatever mistakes I made, they weren't malicious. I never wanted to hurt you. But you did hurt me, whether you meant to or not. I know, and I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you if you let me." My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from the unknown number, "He's lying," about all of it. Ask him about the night Marcus died. Ask him where he really was. I looked at Ryan. At this man I'd married slept beside, trusted with my daughter and my life. And I made a decision. "Tell me about the night Marcus died," I said. His face went white. "What, you were supposed to meet him that night, for some business deal, but you never showed up. Where were you?" "I was—" He stopped, swallowed. "How do you know about that?" "Just answer the question." "I was at home. I got sick, food poisoning or something. I tried to call Marcus to reschedule, but he didn't answer his phone." "And you didn't think to mention this to the police when they were investigating his accident?" "It didn't seem relevant. It was just a business meeting." "Or maybe it was very relevant. Maybe Marcus was upset that you stood him up. Maybe he was driving angry, distracted. Maybe— Are you suggesting I'm responsible for his death?" "I don't know what I'm suggesting. I'm just trying to understand why everyone in my life has been lying to me." Ryan stood up abruptly. "I can't do this. If you think I'm some kind of murderer, some kind of con artist, if that's really what you believe about me, then maybe we shouldn't be having this conversation." "Where are you going?" "I don't know. Anywhere but here." He grabbed his jacket. "When you're ready to actually listen, to actually give me a chance to explain without accusing me of killing your first husband, call me. Until then, I'll stay somewhere else." He walked out. The door slammed behind him. I sat alone at the kitchen table, my coffee going cold, and wondered if I'd just made a terrible mistake. My phone buzzed again. The unknown number, good. Now check his laptop. Password is the same as his safe. Look in his documents folder for a file called Insurance Claims 2022. You'll find what you need. Ryan's laptop was still in his office. I found it on the desk where he always left it plugged in and charging. The password was Marcus's birthday. Of course it was. Everything kept coming back to Marcus. The laptop opened to his desktop. I navigated to his documents folder, hands shaking. There. Insurance Claims 2022. I clicked on it. Inside was a spreadsheet, detailed, color-coded, exactly the kind of thing I would have made at work. It showed the original insurance policy amount, $500,000. The amendment adding posthumous children dated 3 months before Marcus died. Expected payout to Sarah Mitchell, me $250,000. Expected payout to posthumous child, $250,000. Jessica Mitchell's debts to Ryan Cooper, $350,000. Proposed payment plan. Jessica signs over baby's insurance, proceeds to Ryan upon birth. There was more. A draft contract between Ryan and Jessica. An agreement that she would claim the baby's portion of the insurance money and immediately transfer it to him to settle Marcus's debts. But there was something else, too. A note at the bottom of the spreadsheet dated the day after Marcus died. Accident successful. M's vehicle was unrecoverable. Brake line issue will be attributed to poor maintenance. Police unlikely to investigate further. Proceed with Phase 2. Gain S's trust and access to finances. I read it 3 times. Then I ran to the bathroom and vomited. Continued, Ryan had killed Marcus, deliberately. Cut his brake lines or sabotaged his car, somehow made it look like an accident. And then he'd swooped in to console the widow, all while planning to steal everything Marcus had left behind. I was still on the bathroom floor when my phone rang. David. Sarah, I just got a call from Detective Santos. They found something. You need to get down to the station. What did they find? Security footage. From the night Marcus died. Ryan's car was at Marcus's house earlier that evening, but Ryan told police he was never there. I found something too. My voice sounded hollow. Evidence on Ryan's laptop. David, I think he killed Marcus. It's all here in writing. Silence. Then, don't touch anything else. Don't delete anything. I'm calling Amanda Torres right now. We're going to need a criminal lawyer, not just a divorce attorney. Okay. Sarah, are you safe? Is Ryan there? No. He left. We had a fight, and he walked out. Good. Stay where you are. Lock all the doors. I'm coming over. He hung up. I pulled myself off the bathroom floor, splashed water on my face, tried to think clearly. But all I could see was that note accident successful. Ryan had murdered my husband so he could marry me and steal my money, and I'd let him into my home, into my bed, into my daughter's life. I stumbled downstairs and checked all the locks, front door, back door windows. Then I went to Lily's room and stood in the doorway watching the space where she'd been sleeping just hours ago. What would I tell her? How do you explain to an 8-year-old that her stepfather was a murderer, that he'd killed her real father? My phone rang again. Unknown number. Who are you? I demanded as soon as I answered. A pause. Then, my name is Rachel Cooper. I'm Ryan's ex-wife, the one before you. You're alive? I said stupidly. Disappointed? Rachel Cooper's voice was dry, sardonic. Ryan probably told you I died, right? Or disappeared. That's his usual story. He said he'd never been married before. Of course he did. Because admitting he had an ex-wife would raise questions he didn't want to answer. I heard traffic in the background. She was driving. Can we meet? I have things to show you. Things you need to see. How do I know you're really who you say you are? You don't, but I'm the one who's been texting you. I'm the one who told you to check Ryan's safe to look at the insurance policy to find the laptop. I've been trying to help you, Sarah, because I know what Ryan is capable of, and I don't want you to end up like I almost did. Where are you? Pulling into your driveway, right now. I went to the window. Sure enough, a silver Honda was parking in front of my house. A woman got out, tall, thin, with red hair pulled back in a ponytail. She was holding a large envelope. I opened the door before she could knock. Retry JN continue. Rachel Cooper looked exactly like someone who'd spent years running from her past sharp cheekbones eyes that darted nervously a wariness in the way she held herself. She was probably in her late 30s, though stress had aged her prematurely. There were lines around her mouth that spoke of clenched teeth and sleepless nights. Can I come in? She asked. I stepped aside. She walked past me into the living room, glancing around with the kind of attention that suggested she was memorizing exits. Nice house, she said. Better than the one he had me in. That was a rental in Beaverton. Small cheap. He said we were saving money for our future. She laughed bitterly. Turns out the future he was saving for didn't include me. We sat across from each other in my living room, the room where I'd read bedtime stories to Lily, where Ryan and I had watched movies on Friday nights, where I'd built a life that turned out to be constructed entirely of lies. Tell me everything, I said. Rachel opened the envelope and pulled out a thick stack of documents. I met Ryan 11 years ago in Seattle. I was a nurse working at Swedish Medical Center. He was charming, attentive, romantic. All the things you probably thought he was, too. We got married fast, too fast. 6 months after we met, and for the first year things were good. He was working as an architect, making decent money. We bought a house, talked about having kids. She pulled out a photo, a younger Rachel smiling next to Ryan. They looked happy. Then I got pregnant. Jessica told me. She said you miscarried. Is that what she told you? Rachel's expression hardened. I didn't miscarry, Sarah. Ryan pushed me down the stairs. 20 weeks pregnant, and he shoved me because I'd found out he was embezzling money from his firm. I lost the baby, spent 3 days in the hospital. And when I woke up, Ryan was there crying, telling everyone it was an accident, that I'd fallen. The room felt too cold suddenly. Did you go to the police? I tried, but Ryan had already gotten ahead of it. He'd called 911 himself, played the devastated husband. He had witnesses who said I'd been acting erratic, stressed about the pregnancy. He made it look like I'd fallen because I was unstable. Rachel's hands were shaking as she pulled out more documents. And then he told me that if I accused him of anything, he'd make sure I lost my nursing license. He had connections at the hospital, he said. He could plant evidence that I'd been stealing medications. My career would be over. So you left. I ran, changed my name, moved across the country. I've been living in Boston for the past 8 years, working under an assumed identity, always looking over my shoulder. She spread the documents on my coffee table. But I kept tabs on Ryan. I needed to know if he was coming after me. And 2 years ago, I found out he'd married again. You. Why didn't you warn me? I tried. I sent you an email, but it bounced back. Your company must have had spam filters. I tried calling your work, but they wouldn't put me through without knowing what it was about, and I couldn't explain without sounding insane. Rachel looked at me. So I've been watching from a distance. And when I saw that Jessica Mitchell was in the hospital pregnant with Marcus Chen's baby, your late husband's baby, I knew Ryan was running the same con he tried to run on me. What con? The pregnancy con. Get a woman pregnant, or in Jessica's case, arrange a pregnancy, then use the baby as leverage to get money. With me, Ryan wanted to use our child to guilt me into not reporting his embezzlement. He'd say, think of the baby, we need to stay together for the baby. But I lost the baby before he could use that angle. She pulled out a photograph. This is Marcus Chen, your first husband. I know what my husband looked like. Yes, but did you know he had a brother? I froze. Marcus was an only child. No, he had a twin brother, James Chen. They were separated as babies when their parents divorced. Different last names, raised in different cities. Marcus probably didn't even know. Rachel pulled out a birth certificate. James Chen, born November 15th, same day as Marcus. Same mother, same father, same hospital. But James was raised by his father in Vancouver. Marcus was raised by his mother in California. Why does this matter? Because James Chen is the one who's been working with Ryan all along. Not Marcus. Not really. Rachel pulled out more photos. 2 men who looked almost identical. Same features, same build. Marcus died 3 years ago, just like you said. But Ryan had been in contact with James for years before that. They met through some real estate investment forum online. And when Ryan found out James had a twin brother married to a wealthy financial analyst, he saw an opportunity. You're saying Ryan and James planned to... What, pretend James was Marcus? Not exactly, but close. Rachel pointed to the photos. After Marcus died, Ryan introduced you to Marcus's friend from college. That was actually James. He'd been at the funeral pretending to be a distant friend paying respects. You'd never met him before, why would you question it? But I knew Marcus's friends. I would have noticed. Would you think back? How often did you actually see Ryan with Marcus? How many times did they interact in front of you? I tried to remember. The truth was Ryan and Marcus had mostly been friends outside my presence. Guy nights, business meetings, occasional golf outings. I'd met Ryan officially at the funeral, but Marcus had mentioned him before. Talked about his architect friend who was giving him business advice. Or had he... I don't understand, I said. Even if some of Ryan's friends were actually James pretending to be Marcus's friends, Marcus himself was real. I was married to him for 7 years. I knew him. Yes, but did you know about his business dealings, his financial situation, his relationship with his family? Some of it. Not everything. He was private about business. Convenient. Rachel pulled out bank statements. Because the real Marcus was broke. His parents had cut him off years before he met you. He was drowning in debt. And then he met you successful, stable, with money. He married you because he needed financial rescue. That's not... It is. I'm sorry, but it is. Look at these. She showed me credit reports. Marcus had $200,000 in debt when you got married. Credit cards, student loans, bad investments. You paid it all off, didn't you? Called it starting fresh together. I had. I'd used my savings to clear Marcus's debts within the first year of our marriage. He'd been so grateful, so ashamed. Said he'd been young and stupid with money. Promised to do better. And I'd believed him. Because I loved him. Because that's what you do for the person you love. Then Lily was born, Rachel continued. And suddenly Marcus had everything: a wife with money, a beautiful daughter, stability. But he was also trapped. The debts kept coming. He couldn't stop spending, couldn't manage his finances. You were always cleaning up his messes. How do you know all this? Because James told Ryan. And Ryan kept files. Detailed files on both you and Marcus. Planning his approach. She pulled out a notebook. Pages and pages in Ryan's handwriting. Analyzing my spending habits, my investment portfolio, my emotional vulnerabilities. Sarah Mitchell profile. High earner, low spender. Conservative with money. Recently lost husband. Emotionally vulnerable. Has daughter age 5. Likely wants stable father figure. Doesn't trust easily, but once trust is given, very loyal. Approach. Be patient. Be supportive. Don't rush. Wait for her to come to you. This is... I couldn't finish the sentence. Sociopathic, yes. Rachel closed the notebook. Ryan is a predator, Sarah. He targets women with resources, money, property connections. He studies them, figures out what they need emotionally, then becomes exactly that person. With me, he was the ambitious architect who wanted a family. With you, he was the supportive friend who could help you heal from loss. And with Jessica, he was the ex-boyfriend who'd changed, who'd matured, who understood her pain. He knew she was estranged from you, knew she was vulnerable. He used Marcus to get close to her, then used her to get to you. But Marcus died. How did Ryan... The accident was convenient for Ryan. Maybe too convenient. Rachel met my eyes. I can't prove Ryan killed Marcus, but I can tell you that a few months before Marcus died, Ryan took out a large life insurance policy on himself and named you as the beneficiary. He also encouraged Marcus to update his own policy. Said it was responsible now that Marcus had a family. The insurance amendment, adding posthumous children. Exactly, Ryan was already planning ahead. If something happened to Marcus, if Jessica ended up pregnant with his child, Ryan could manipulate the situation to access that insurance money through you. My head was spinning. Why go through all this? Why not just steal money directly? Because direct theft is traceable. But if you willingly give him money, if you pay his debts, if you put his name on your accounts, if you make him beneficiary of your insurance, that's all legal. You consented. And if anyone ever questioned it, Ryan could say he was your husband. You trusted him. You made these choices freely. He was going to drain me dry. Yes. And then he'd leave. Maybe fake his own death, maybe just disappear. Start over somewhere else with a new identity and all your money. Rachel gathered up the documents. I've been collecting evidence for years. Everything he did to me, everything I could find about his past. I have 5 other women. 5 women Ryan targeted, married, and destroyed financially before moving on. You would have been number 6. 5. I felt sick. How is he not in prison? Because he's smart. He never does anything obviously illegal. He manipulates, he lies, he emotionally abuses. But he's careful never to leave evidence of fraud. The women usually don't even realize they've been conned until years later, when they're broke and he's gone and it's too late to do anything about it. But you have evidence now. I have evidence of a pattern. But patterns aren't always enough for criminal prosecution. What we need is something concrete. Something that ties Ryan directly to a specific crime. Rachel looked at me. Like murder? Marcus's death? Yes. If we can prove Ryan tampered with Marcus's car, if we can show premeditation intent, that's murder 1. And that's prison. I found something on Ryan's laptop. I pulled out my phone and took photos of the spreadsheet, the note about the accident being successful. Is this enough? Rachel examined the photos, her expression growing intense. Yes, this is exactly what we need. This, combined with the security footage showing Ryan at Marcus's house the night he died, combined with the financial evidence of his planning, this could build a murder case. The police already have the security footage. I called them this morning. Good. Then we need to get this laptop to them immediately, before Ryan realizes what you found and tries to destroy it. He already left. We had a fight and he walked out. Where did he go? I don't know. He just said he needed space. Rachel stood abruptly. Call the police, right now. Tell them you have evidence of murder and you need protection. Because if Ryan realizes you know everything, if he thinks you're a threat... The window behind me shattered. Glass exploded inward and I hit the floor, covering my head. Rachel screamed. I heard footsteps crunching on glass, then a voice I knew too well. Hello, Sarah. Ryan. He stood in my living room glass, crunching under his shoes, holding a gun. Not a large gun. Something small, compact. The kind of weapon that looked almost delicate in his hand, but could kill just as easily as anything bigger. Ryan, I started to stand. Don't. He pointed the gun at me. Stay down. Both of you." Rachel hadn't moved from her position by the couch. Her face was white, her eyes fixed on the gun. "How long have you been listening?" I asked. "Long enough." Ryan's voice was calm, too calm, the voice of someone who'd already made a decision and was just going through the motions of what came next. "Rachel Cooper, I wondered if you'd show up eventually. You really should have stayed in Boston." "You knew where I was." "I've always known. Did you really think you could hide from me? I let you run because you weren't worth the effort of tracking down. But then you started interfering with my plans, sending emails, making phone calls, and that I can't allow." "The police are coming," I said. "I called them before you got here." "No, you didn't. I've been monitoring your phone for months, Sarah. Every call, every text, every email. I know exactly who you've talked to and what you've said." He smiled, and it was the smile I'd fallen in love with, warm, charming, completely devoid of real emotion. "Detective Santos is at the station reviewing security footage. David Chen is at his office gathering more financial documents. And your daughter is at school safe and unaware. No one is coming to help you. Someone will notice the broken window. In this neighborhood where everyone minds their own business." Ryan shook his head. "No one's coming, Sarah. It's just us. So let's talk about what happens next." "You're going to kill us." Rachel said it flatly. "I don't want to, but you've left me no choice." Ryan's gun hand was steady. "Sarah, you were supposed to trust me. You were supposed to be the loyal, loving wife who stood by her husband even when things got complicated. That was the plan. But you had to go digging, had to question everything, had to ruin it all. You murdered my husband. I freed you from a man who was using you. Marcus didn't love you, Sarah. He loved your bank account. I did you a favor." "A favor?" My voice came out sharp, angry. Good. Anger was better than fear. "You cut his brake lines. Actually, I loosened the bolts on his brake calipers. Easier, less obvious. His brakes would have felt spongy for a few miles, then failed completely. It was raining that night. He was driving too fast. The car went off the road and he died on impact. Quick, painless. Better than he deserved." "You're insane." "I'm practical. Marcus was a problem. He was planning to confess everything to you, the affair with Jessica, the business debts, all of it. If he'd told you the truth, you would have divorced him. Taken everything. And that would have ruined my plans. So I eliminated the problem. And then you married me so you could steal my money." "Not steal. Inherit. There's a difference." Ryan gestured with the gun. "If I'd just robbed you, that would be crude, criminal. But if I married you, earned your trust, became part of your family, then when you died, everything would come to me legally. Your assets, your life insurance, your daughter's trust fund, all of it." The words took a moment to register. "When I died. Yes, that was always the end game." Ryan said it casually, like he was discussing dinner plans. "I was going to wait another year. Let Lily get more attached to me. Let everyone see us as a happy family. Then you'd have an accident. Something tragic but believable. A fall down the stairs, maybe. Or a car crash, like Marcus. And I'd be the grieving widower taking care of poor little Lily, managing her inheritance until she turned 18. And then what? Kill her too. Don't be dramatic. Lily would have been fine. I'm not a monster. I'd have set her up with boarding school summer camps, everything she needed. And when she turned 18 and got access to her trust fund, I'd already have moved on to someone else." "You're sick." "I'm successful. 5 marriages, 5 fortunes. I've made over $4 million in the past 12 years. I live well, I take what I want, and I move on. It's a good life. Until now. Yes, until you and Rachel decided to be heroes." Ryan's expression hardened. "So here's what's going to happen. You're both going to get in my car. We're going to drive somewhere quiet. And then you're going to have a very unfortunate accident together. 2 women who'd been investigating me who died together. Maybe a car crash. Maybe something else. I'll figure it out. People will know it was you," Rachel said. "David, the police, everyone, will think I'm devastated by my wife's sudden death. I'll play the grieving husband perfectly. I've done it before." He stepped closer. "Now, car. Both of you. Stand up slowly." I looked at Rachel, saw the same calculation in her eyes that was running through my mind. If we got in his car, we were dead. He'd take us somewhere isolated and kill us, then stage it to look like an accident. Our only chance was here now while we were still in my house, where someone might hear, might see, might help. I stood slowly. Rachel did the same. Good, Ryan said. Now, I threw the coffee table. It wasn't heavy, just cheap IKEA furniture, but it was enough. The table hit Ryan's legs, and he stumbled the gun wavering. Rachel lunged for the door, and I dove at Ryan, grabbing his gun hand. We went down in a tangle of limbs. The gun fired deafening in the enclosed space, and I heard glass shatter somewhere behind us. Ryan was stronger than me, but I had surprise and rage on my side. I dug my nails into his wrist, fighting for the gun. Sarah, run! Rachel was at the door, but I couldn't run. If I let go of his wrist, if I gave him even a second to aim, he'd shoot me in the back. So I held on, kicking, biting, fighting like an animal. Ryan brought his other hand up and grabbed my throat. Squeezed. Black spots danced across my vision. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't. The front door burst open. Police, drop the weapon. Detective Santos' gun drawn with 3 uniformed officers behind her. Ryan froze. I felt his grip on my throat loosen. Then he shoved me away hard, and I hit the floor, gasping as the police swarmed in. Drop it! Drop the gun now. Ryan looked at me. Our eyes met. And in that moment, I saw him make a decision. He raised the gun not toward me, but toward Detective Santos. The police fired. Ryan went down. The next few hours were a blur of paramedics and police statements and crime scene investigators taking photos of my destroyed living room. Rachel and I were both checked for injuries. Bruises, shock, but nothing serious. Ryan was taken away in an ambulance, critical but alive. The police had shot him twice center mass, and he'd probably survive to face trial. I sat on my porch steps, wrapped in a blanket someone had given me, watching the circus of emergency vehicles and trying to process what had just happened. David arrived at some point. I don't remember calling him, but he was suddenly there, sitting beside me, not saying anything, just being present. Lily, I said finally. My voice was hoarse from being choked. I need to get Lily. Already handled. David showed me his phone. I called the school, explained there was a family emergency. Your sister is picking her up. My sister Jessica. She's being discharged from the hospital today. Detective Santos arranged it. Lily's going to stay with Jessica tonight at a hotel. Safe away from all this. He gestured at the chaos around us. You can see her tomorrow once things calm down. I need to see her now. Sarah. David took my hand. Look at yourself. You're covered in blood, Ryan's blood, and you can barely talk. You need to get checked out at a hospital, give your statement to the police, and rest. Lily doesn't need to see you like this. Not tonight. He was right. I hated that he was right, but he was. How did the police know to come? I asked. Rachel. She'd pressed a panic button on her phone when Ryan broke in. It alerted 911 automatically. The dispatcher heard the conversation, heard him threatening you, and sent units immediately. I looked at Rachel, who was giving her own statement to a different detective. She saved my life. You saved each other, David said. They took me to the hospital. Not because I was seriously injured, but because protocol required it when someone had been assaulted. They documented my bruises, finger marks around my throat, scrapes on my arms from the glass, a bump on my head from hitting the floor. Took photos for evidence. Asked if I wanted a victim's advocate. I said no. I just wanted to go home. But I couldn't go home. My house was a crime scene. So David took me to his apartment, gave me his bedroom, and slept on the couch despite my protests. I didn't sleep. Just lay in David's bed, staring at his ceiling, replaying everything in my head. Marcus and Jessica's affair, Ryan's manipulation, the murder, the plan to kill me and take everything. My phone buzzed with messages. Jessica saying Lily was safe and asking when she could see me. Amanda Torres, my lawyer, asking if I needed anything. Detective Santos saying she'd need a full statement in the morning. And one message from an unknown number. You're stronger than you know. Don't forget that. I didn't respond. I just turned off my phone and closed my eyes. Detective Santos came to David's apartment the next morning with coffee and bagels and a notepad filled with questions. How are you feeling? She asked. Like I've been hit by a truck. Understandable. She set up a recorder. I need to get your full statement. Everything that happened yesterday, everything you learned about Ryan, all of it. Take your time. So I told her. About the midnight phone call that started everything. About finding the files in Ryan's safe. About Jessica's confession at the hospital. About Rachel showing up with evidence of Ryan's previous victims. About the laptop files and the note about Marcus's accident. Detective Santos listened, taking notes, occasionally asking clarifying questions. When I finished, she sat back and shook her head. "This is one of the most complex cases I've seen in 20 years, she said. "Ryan Cooper, or whatever his real name is, we're still figuring that out. He has multiple identities, multiple marriages, multiple crimes across several states. His real name isn't Ryan Cooper. It is now legally, but he was born Thomas Ryan Mitchell. Changed his name when he was 22, right after his first divorce. We're still piecing together his history, but it looks like he's been running cons for at least 15 years. 15 years? Jesus. And Marcus Chen." Detective Santos pulled out a photo. "We've confirmed that Marcus did have a twin brother, James Chen, who lives in Vancouver. We're working with Canadian authorities to interview him. Preliminary evidence suggests James was aware of Ryan's plans, but wasn't directly involved. He may face charges for conspiracy, but that's still being determined. What about Jessica? Your sister has been very cooperative. She's agreed to testify against Ryan in exchange for immunity. Given that she was also a victim of his manipulation, the DA is inclined to be lenient. And the baby, due in 6 weeks if there are no more complications, which brings me to something you need to decide." Detective Santos pulled out legal documents. "Jessica has indicated that she's willing to discuss custody arrangements. She knows you're Lily's mother and that the baby will be Lily's half-sibling. She's open to co-parenting if you're interested." I don't know. I need to think about it." "That's fine. There's no rush. But Sarah..." Detective Santos met my eyes. "Jessica is trying. Really trying. She's been through therapy, she's gotten clean from some substance issues Ryan had her hooked on, and she genuinely wants to rebuild a relationship with you. I'm not saying you have to forgive her, but maybe consider giving her a chance." I nodded slowly. "What happens to Ryan?" "He's still in critical condition. The surgery went well, but he's got a long recovery ahead. And then he faces charges for attempted murder, both you and Rachel, plus conspiracy to commit murder for Marcus's death, plus multiple counts of fraud and identity theft, and probably a dozen other things we're still uncovering." "Will he go to prison?" "If he survives his injuries, and if we can prove even half of what we suspect, yes. For a very long time." Nay. That afternoon, David drove me to see Lily. She was at a hotel in Northeast Portland with Jessica. When I knocked on the door, Jessica answered, looking tired and pale, but somehow more present than I'd ever seen her. "Sarah," she said softly. "Come in." Lily was sitting on one of the beds coloring. When she saw me, she jumped up and ran over, wrapping her arms around my waist. "Mom, are you okay?" Aunt Jessica said there was an emergency. I crouched down to her level, ignoring the pain in my bruised throat. "I'm okay, baby. Everything's going to be okay." "Why is your neck all red?" "I had an accident, but I'm fine now." I looked at Jessica over Lily's head. She nodded, slightly understanding. We'd talk about what to tell Lily later. Together. "Is Ryan coming back?" Lily asked. "No, sweetheart. Ryan isn't going to live with us anymore. Because he was mean to you. Kids, they always knew more than you thought they did." "Yes, because he was mean to me." "Okay." Lily accepted this with the resilience of children. "Can we get a dog instead?" Despite everything, I laughed. "Maybe. We'll see." 6 months later, the baby, a boy, was born in December. Jessica named him Marcus after his father. I was there for the birth, holding Jessica's hand while she screamed and pushed and brought a new life into this complicated world we'd created. When the nurse placed Marcus Jr. in Jessica's arms, I saw my sister cry for the first time since we were children. Not tears of pain or frustration, but pure joy. "Do you want to hold him?" Jessica asked. I did. I held my nephew, my daughter's half-brother, and felt something shift in my chest. This baby wasn't responsible for the sins of his father or the mistakes of his mother. He was just a child who deserved to be loved. Lily adored him immediately. She'd been nervous at first, jealous maybe, or worried about what this baby meant for her place in the family. But the first time she held him, she'd looked up at me with shining eyes and said, "Mom, can he live with us sometimes?" And somehow, impossibly, we'd made it work. Jessica rented an apartment 3 blocks from our house. We shared custody of baby Marcus loosely and formally, in a way that prioritized what he needed rather than what the court said. Some days he stayed with Jessica. Some days he stayed with us. We had dinner together twice a week. Lily read him stories and helped with bottle feedings and generally acted like the world's most devoted big sister. It wasn't perfect. Jessica and I still had arguments, still had moments where old resentments surfaced. But we were trying, really trying. Ryan pled guilty to all charges in March. The evidence was overwhelming: the laptop files, the security footage, Rachel Cooper's testimony, the confession he'd made while holding us at gunpoint. His lawyer negotiated a deal: life in prison without possibility of parole in exchange for revealing the locations of assets he'd stolen from previous victims. He'd give a victim impact statement at sentencing, told the judge about the night Ryan had tried to kill me, about the years I'd spent married to a man who'd murdered my first husband. Ryan sat through it all with no expression on his face. When the judge asked if he had anything to say, he'd stood and looked directly at me. "I did love you," he'd said. "That was never a lie. I just loved money more." Then they'd taken him away, and I'd never seen him again. It was October again, a full year since the phone call that had started everything. I was sitting on my back porch watching Lily play with Marcus in the yard. She was teaching him to chase bubbles, and his delighted laughter carried across the grass. Jessica sat beside me with coffee. We didn't talk much anymore, didn't need to. Just existed in comfortable silence, two sisters who'd been through hell and somehow found their way back to each other. David came through the back gate carrying takeout from our favorite Thai place. He'd been coming around more often lately, sometimes as a friend, sometimes as something that might become more. We were taking it slow. I was taking everything slow these days. "Dinner," he announced, setting the bags on the patio table. Uncle David, Lily ran over. "Watch me. I can blow a bubble inside a bubble." "That's amazing," David said with the kind of enthusiasm adults reserve for children's achievements. I watched them, my daughter, my nephew, my sister, my friend. This strange, broken, rebuilt family we'd somehow created from the wreckage of lies and loss. My phone buzzed. A message from Rachel Cooper, who I talk to every few weeks now. "How are you doing?" "Good," I typed back. "Really good." And for the first time in what felt like forever, it was true. I'd lost a husband I thought I knew. I'd lost a marriage I thought was real. I'd lost the naive belief that trust came easily. But I'd gained something too. I'd gained the knowledge that I could survive anything, that I was stronger than I'd ever imagined, that family wasn't about blood or law or obligation. It was about who showed up, who stayed, who chose to love you even after they'd seen you at your worst. Lily came running back, grass stains on her knees and joy on her face. "Mom," Marcus said. "Mama, did you hear? I heard baby." She climbed into my lap, still young enough to need her mother's arms, old enough to understand that some things in life are complicated. "Do you think Daddy would have liked Marcus, the baby Marcus?" I thought about Marcus, my first husband, the man I'd loved and lost and learned was nothing like I'd believed. "I think he would have loved him, just like we do." "Good." Lily rested her head against my shoulder. "I'm glad we're all together." "Me too, sweetheart. Me too." The sun was setting over Portland, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. David was setting the table. Jessica was singing softly to baby Marcus. Lily was warm in my arms. It wasn't the life I'd planned. It wasn't the life I'd thought I wanted. But it was mine. Honest, imperfect, real. And that was enough. 18 months later, the courtroom was smaller than I'd expected. I'd seen plenty of legal dramas on TV, grand chambers with high ceilings and dramatic lighting. But this was just a regular room in the Multnomah County Courthouse. Fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, uncomfortable wooden benches, and a judge who looked like she'd rather be anywhere else. Ryan's appeals hearing. I didn't have to be here. Amanda Torres had told me that. "You've given your testimony. You don't owe him anything. Stay home, Sarah. Be with Lily." But I'd come anyway, because I needed to see him one more time. Needed to look him in the eye as a free woman, not a victim. Needed to close this chapter completely. Ryan was brought in wearing an orange jumpsuit, hands cuffed in front of him. He'd lost weight in prison. His face was gaunt, his hair longer than he'd ever worn it when we were married. He looked older, diminished. He saw me in the gallery and something flickered across his face. Surprise, regret, it was hard to tell. His lawyer stood and made the usual arguments: procedural errors, ineffective counsel, new evidence that supposedly exonerated him. I'd heard it all before. Ryan was grasping at straws, trying to find any technicality that might reduce his sentence. The judge listened with visible impatience. When the lawyer finally finished, she adjusted her glasses and said, Mr. Cooper, your original counsel was more than adequate. The evidence against you was overwhelming. You confessed to multiple felonies while holding 2 women at gunpoint. There are no grounds for appeal. Your life sentence stands." Ryan's shoulders sagged. For just a moment, he looked like the man I'd thought I married, vulnerable human, capable of feeling something real. Then the guards took him away, and he was gone. Outside the courthouse, Rachel was waiting. She'd flown in from Boston specifically for this hearing, saying she needed the closure too. "How do you feel?" she asked. "Lighter," I said, and I meant it. Like I can finally breathe. We walked to a nearby coffee shop, the kind of overpriced Portland place with exposed brick and baristas who looked like they belonged in an indie band. Rachel ordered something with oat milk and lavender. I got black coffee. "I've been seeing someone," Rachel said as we settled at a corner table. "A therapist who specializes in trauma from intimate partner violence. She's been helping me work through everything Ryan put me through." "That's good. How's it going?" "Hard. Some days I'm angry at myself for not seeing the signs sooner. Other days I'm just sad. Sad for the person I was before I met him. The person who trusted easily and loved freely." She stirred her coffee. "But I'm getting there. Slowly." "I started therapy too," I admitted. "After the trial. Dr. Morrison, she's been helping me understand why I was so easy for Ryan to manipulate. Apparently I have this thing where I need to be strong all the time, so I ignore red flags because acknowledging them would mean admitting I made a mistake." "That's very psychological of you." "She says it comes from losing my parents young. I learned to be self-sufficient because I couldn't rely on anyone else. So when Marcus came along and needed me, I fell into the role of caretaker. And when he died, I felt like I'd failed." I took a sip of coffee. Ryan knew exactly what to offer me: stability partnership, someone who seemed stronger than Marcus had been. He was everything I thought I needed. But he wasn't. No, he was just good at pretending. Rachel was quiet for a moment. Then, "Do you think you'll ever trust anyone again, romantically, I mean?" I thought about David, about the slow, careful way we'd been circling each other for the past year, the dinners that weren't quite dates, the conversations that went deeper than friendship, but stopped short of anything more. "I don't know," I said honestly. "I want to, but every time I think about letting someone in, I remember Ryan standing in my living room with a gun. I remember how completely I believed his lies, and I wonder if I'll ever be able to trust my own judgment again." "That's the worst part, isn't it? He didn't just betray your trust in him. He made you doubt yourself." "Yeah." I looked out the window at Portland's gray sky. It was November again, the same month Marcus had died, the same month baby Marcus had been born. Everything was circular. "But I'm working on it. Dr. Morrison says healing isn't linear. Some days I'm fine. Some days I can barely get out of bed. But overall, the trajectory is up." "Good." Rachel reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "You deserve to be happy, Sarah. After everything, you deserve that." Jessica hosted Thanksgiving that year. It was a small gathering, just her, me, Lily baby Marcus, who was now 11 months old and terrorizing everything at toddler walking height, David and Dr. Helen Park, who'd become something of a family friend after months of therapy sessions. Jessica's apartment smelled like turkey and stuffing and pumpkin pie. She'd gone all out, determined to prove she could handle a major holiday. I'd offered to help cook, but she'd shooed me away. "You've done enough," she'd said. "Let me do this. I need to do this." So I'd sat on her couch with baby Marcus on my lap, reading him a board book about trucks, while Lily helped Jessica in the kitchen. David and Dr. Park were having an intense discussion about attachment theory and childhood trauma. Everything felt almost normal. Almost. "Mom," Lily appeared in the doorway, flower on her nose. "Aunt Jessica wants to know if you like cranberry sauce from a can or homemade." That's what I said. Lily grinned and disappeared back into the kitchen. Baby Marcus grabbed my finger with his tiny hand and said, "Mama, mama." "I'm not your mama," I told him gently. "I'm your Aunt Sarah, but close enough." He didn't care about the distinction, just smiled and went back to chewing on his toy truck. David came over and sat beside me. "How are you doing, really?" "Okay, I think. It's weird being here. A year ago, I wasn't sure Jessica and I would ever speak again. And now we're doing Thanksgiving together." "People change. She's working hard to make amends." "I know. I see it. I watched Jessica through the kitchen doorway laughing at something Lily said. She's been sober for 14 months. She's in therapy. She's actually being a parent to Marcus instead of just going through the motions. I'm proud of her. But I'm still scared. Scared that one day she'll relapse or disappear or do something that hurts Lily, and I won't be able to protect her from it. You can't protect Lily from everything, David said quietly. As much as you want to. I know. Doesn't stop me from trying. He smiled. No, I don't suppose it does. Dinner was chaotic in the way that family dinners are. Lily talked nonstop about her upcoming role in the school play. Baby Marcus threw mashed potatoes on the floor. Jessica burned the rolls, but the turkey was perfect. Dr. Park told stories about her own dysfunctional family Thanksgivings that made everyone feel better about ours. And somewhere in the middle of it all, I realized I was happy. Not the uncomplicated happiness of ignorance, not the false happiness I'd felt with Ryan, but a deeper, more complex contentment, the kind that comes from surviving something terrible and building something real from the wreckage. After dinner, while Jessica was putting Marcus down for a nap and Lily was watching a movie with Dr. Park, David, and I did the dishes together. Sarah, he said, elbow deep in soapy water, can I ask you something? Sure. Are we ever going to talk about this thing between us? I dried a plate carefully before answering. What thing? Don't do that. Don't pretend you don't know what I mean. He turned to face me. We've been dancing around this for over a year now. Having dinner twice a week, talking every day. You call me when you can't sleep. I call you when I need advice. We're basically dating, except we've never actually called it that. I know. So, why haven't we... I set down the dish towel. Because I'm scared. Because the last time I let myself love someone, he murdered my first husband and tried to kill me. Because I don't trust myself to see people clearly anymore. Because you're still healing, David finished. I know, and I'm not pushing you to be ready before you are. But Sarah, I need to know if there's a possibility here, if there's something you want this to become. Because if there isn't, if we're just friends and that's all we'll ever be, I need to know so I can start moving on. You want to move on? No, God, no. I want you. I've wanted you since before Marcus died, if I'm being completely honest. But I've been patient. I've waited. And I'll keep waiting if you need me to. But I need to know there's something to wait for. I looked at him, really looked at him. David Chen, who'd been my friend for 8 years, who'd never lied to me, never manipulated me, never asked for more than I could give, who'd held me while I cried about Marcus, who'd helped me investigate Ryan, who'd been there through every crisis without expecting anything in return. I'm still scared, I said. I know. And I'm still broken in some ways. We're all broken in some ways. And I don't know if I can be what you need. If I can be a good partner when I'm still figuring out how to be a good person. You're already a good person, Sarah. You just can't see it yet. I reached out and took his hand. His fingers were wet from the dishwater, wrinkled and warm. Can we take it slow, like really slow? How slow are we talking? Like, maybe we could call our dinners dates and see how that feels. David smiled. I think I can live with that. And maybe eventually, if it feels right, we could try more. It will eventually works for me. He squeezed my hand. I'm not going anywhere, Sarah. Take all the time you need. Lily woke me up at 5:47 a.m. on Christmas morning, bouncing on my bed with the manic energy of an 8-year-old on a sugar high. Mom, it's Christmas. Santa came. There are presents everywhere. I groaned and pulled a pillow over my head. Lily, it's not even 6. But Mom, Christmas. There was no arguing with that logic. I dragged myself out of bed, put on a robe, and followed my ecstatic daughter downstairs. Our living room looked like a department store had exploded. Presents under the tree, stockings overflowing, and because I'd gone slightly overboard in an attempt to make up for last year's traumatic Christmas, a new bicycle with a big red bow. Oh my gosh, Mom! Lily threw her arms around me. You got me the bike, the exact one I wanted. Santa got you the bike, I corrected. I had nothing to do with it. She rolled her eyes. Mom, I'm 8. I know Santa isn't real. What since when? Since forever. But I didn't want to tell you because you seemed really into it. I laughed despite my exhaustion. Okay, fine. I got you the bike. Merry Christmas, baby. We spent the next hour opening presents. Lily got books and art supplies and a new tablet for schoolwork. I got a coffee maker that I'd been wanting and a set of noise-canceling headphones that Lily had picked out herself. At 7, Jessica arrived with baby Marcus. We decided to do Christmas morning together this year, let the kids open presents as a family, even if that family looked different than traditional ones. Marcus toddled over to the tree and immediately tried to eat an ornament. Jessica scooped him up, laughing. No, baby, we don't eat the decorations. He can have one of his presents, I said, handing over a wrapped box. It's soft, he can't hurt himself with it. Jessica helped Marcus tear open the paper, revealing a stuffed elephant. He hugged it immediately, making happy baby noises. He loves it, Jessica said softly. Thank you. Of course. We'd been doing this for months now, this tentative dance of co-parenting and rebuilding trust. It wasn't perfect. We still had disagreements about schedules and boundaries, but we were trying. Every day we chose to try. At 8, David showed up with bagels and coffee from our favorite place. He'd texted earlier asking if I wanted company, and I'd said yes without hesitation. Merry Christmas, he said, kissing my cheek. It was a casual gesture, friendly, but there was something in his eyes that made my heart skip. We were dating now, officially. It had been a month since Thanksgiving, and we'd gone on actual dates, dinner, movies, a disastrous ice skating attempt that ended with both of us bruised but laughing. Nothing had happened beyond hand-holding and one goodnight kiss that had left me dizzy and terrified and wanting more. Dr. Morrison said that was normal, that rebuilding trust took time, that I was allowed to be scared. I was trying to believe her. Uncle David, Lily ran over. Look what Mom got me. That's an awesome bike, David said, admiring it properly. We should take it to the park later, test it out. Can we? Lily looked at me hopefully. Sure, baby, after breakfast. We ate bagels on the floor, surrounded by wrapping paper and toys. Baby Marcus crawled around investigating everything. Jessica told stories about her own childhood Christmases back when our parents were alive and everything was simpler. I watched them, my sister, my daughter, my nephew, my David, my person. Whatever he was becoming to me. This strange, rebuilt family, this life I'd never planned for. And I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Contentment. Real honest contentment. In January, I got a letter from Ryan. It came via the prison system forwarded through Amanda Torres, who called to warn me before it arrived. You don't have to read it, she said. We can destroy it if you want. No, send it. I want to see what he has to say. The letter arrived 3 days later, prison stationery, Ryan's familiar handwriting, my name on the envelope in neat block letters. I sat with it for 2 hours before opening it. David was there sitting across from me at my kitchen table, providing silent support. Finally, I tore it open. Dear Sarah, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even expect you to read this. But my therapist here, yes, they make us see therapists in prison, says I need to write this for my own healing. So here it is. I'm sorry. I know those words are inadequate. I know they don't undo what I did to you, to Marcus, to Rachel, to all the others. But they're true. I am genuinely deeply sorry. You asked me once if any of it was real, if I really loved you, or if it was all manipulation. The truth is more complicated than either option. I did love you, Sarah. As much as someone like me is capable of love. You were different from the others. Smarter, stronger, more of a challenge. That should have made me want to walk away. But instead, it made me want to possess you, to prove I could break through your defenses and make you need me. That's the sickness in me, I think. I don't know how to love without controlling. Don't know how to connect without manipulating. My therapist says it goes back to my childhood absent parents, abandonment issues, all the psychological cliches. But knowing why I'm broken doesn't fix it. I've had a lot of time to think in here. About the people I've hurt, the lives I've destroyed. Marcus didn't deserve to die. Rachel didn't deserve what I did to her. You didn't deserve any of it. I tell myself I was trying to survive, that I grew up poor and desperate and learned to take what I needed because no one was going to give it to me. But that's just another lie. The truth is, I liked it. The planning, the manipulation, the thrill of getting away with it. I liked feeling smarter than everyone else. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that you were right about me. I am a monster. but I'm a monster who genuinely loved you in my own twisted way. That probably doesn't make you feel better. It probably makes it worse. But it's the truth, and I owe you that much at least. I hope you're happy, Sarah. I hope you're living a good life with Lily. I hope you found someone who can love you the way you deserve, honestly, openly, without conditions. I hope you've forgotten me. But even if you haven't, even if I haunt your nightmares, sometimes know this. You survived me. You were stronger than I gave you credit for, and that's something no one can take from you. Take care of yourself, Ryan. I read it twice, then set it down on the table. What do you think? David asked carefully. I think he's a sociopath who's learned how to sound remorseful in therapy. I folded the letter. But I also think some of it might be true. The part about him loving me in his own way. Not because he's suddenly become a good person, but because even sociopaths can feel attachment. It's just different from how normal people feel it. Are you going to write back? No, there's nothing to say. I stood up and walked to the kitchen drawer where I kept important documents. Filed the letter away with all the other evidence from the case insurance policies, police reports, court transcripts. This is just documentation, proof that it really happened, but it doesn't change anything. How do you feel? Tired, but also relieved, like he's confirmed everything I already knew. There's no ambiguity anymore. No wondering if maybe I misunderstood, if maybe he really did care. He cared. He's just incapable of caring in a way that doesn't hurt people. David came up behind me and wrapped his arms around my waist. I leaned back against him, letting myself be held. You're okay, he murmured. You're safe. He can't hurt you anymore. I know. And for the first time, I really believed it. By March, things had settled into a routine. I'd gone back to work full-time at Sterling Financial. My colleagues had been supportive through everything, giving me space when I needed it, welcoming me back without making a big deal of it. Lily was thriving in school. Her teacher said she'd become more confident, more willing to speak up in class. The trauma of last year hadn't broken her. If anything, it had made her stronger. Jessica was doing well, too. She'd started taking online classes toward finishing her master's degree. Was talking about maybe opening her own business someday, a coffee shop or bookstore, something that would let her work flexible hours while raising Marcus. Baby Marcus was walking now, talking in that garbled toddler way that only parents and siblings could understand. He called me Sawa, and Lily was Yee, and his mother was Mama, and somehow impossibly we'd all figured out how to be a family. David and I were something. More than friends, not quite living together, but heading in that direction. We'd had long conversations about boundaries and expectations and what we both wanted from a relationship. He was patient. I was trying to be brave. One Saturday in April, we took Lily and Marcus to the zoo. It was sunny, one of those rare Portland spring days where the clouds parted and you remembered why people moved here despite the rain. Lily and Marcus were fascinated by the elephants. David and I stood behind them, his hand in mine, watching them watch the animals. This is nice, I said. Yeah, normal. Boring even. I smiled. I like boring. After the year you've had, boring is underrated. Lily turned around suddenly. Mom, can Marcus come to my birthday party, please? Of course he can, baby. He's your brother. Half-brother, Lily corrected with 8-year-old precision. But still family. Still family, I agreed. We wandered through the zoo, stopping to look at the penguins and the lions and the polar bears. Marcus fell asleep in his stroller. Lily collected facts about animals that she recited with enthusiasm. And I thought, this is healing. This ordinary, mundane, beautiful day. This is what it looks like to move forward. Lily turned 9 in May. We threw a party at the house, nothing extravagant, just pizza and cake and a dozen kids from school running around the backyard. Jessica came with Marcus. David came with a remote control drone that Lily immediately claimed as her favorite present. Dr. Park came too, bringing books about strong women in history. Every girl needs role models, she'd said, winking at me. I watched Lily blow out her candles, surrounded by friends and family. Watched her laugh and play and be a kid. And I felt an overwhelming rush of gratitude that she'd survived last year intact. That she was happy and healthy and whole. After the party, after the guests had left and the house was quiet again, Lily and I sat on her bed together. Did you have a good birthday? I asked. The best. Thanks, Mom. You're welcome, baby. She was quiet for a moment. Then, Mom, can I ask you something? Always. Do you miss Daddy, my real daddy? I thought about Marcus, about the man I'd loved and the man I'd discovered he actually was, about grief and anger and acceptance. Yes, I said honestly. I miss the person I thought he was, but I've also learned that people are complicated. Your daddy loved you very much, that part was real, but he made mistakes, big ones, and I've had to figure out how to remember the good parts while accepting the bad parts. Do you hate him now? No, I don't hate him. I'm sad about what happened and angry sometimes, but hate takes too much energy. I'd rather spend that energy on loving you and building a good life for us. Lily nodded slowly, processing this. What about Ryan? Do you hate him? Ryan's different. What he did was intentional. He hurt people on purpose. So yes, I guess I do hate him a little, but I'm trying not to let that hate consume me. I'm trying to focus on what I have now instead of what I lost. Like David, and like you, and like our family with Aunt Jessica and Marcus. I hugged her tight. I have so much good in my life now, baby, more than I thought I'd have a year ago, and I'm grateful for all of it. Me too, she hugged me back. I'm glad we're okay now. Me too, sweetheart. Me too. David proposed in June, not with a grand gesture or a public spectacle, just the two of us sitting on my back porch after Lily had gone to bed drinking wine and watching the stars come out. I've been thinking, he said. Dangerous, I teased. I want to marry you. The words hung in the air between us. I set down my wine glass carefully. David, I know it's fast. I know you're still healing. But I've known you for 8 years, Sarah. I've been in love with you for most of them. And I'm not Ryan. I'm not going to manipulate you or hurt you or use you. I just want to build a life with you. A real one. You don't have to answer now. Take all the time you need. I just needed you to know that I'm serious about this. About us. About being a partner to you and a father figure to Lily if you'll let me. I looked at him in the moonlight, this good, honest, patient man who'd loved me through my worst and never asked for anything in return. Yes, I said. Yes. Yes, I'll marry you. Not because I need you to save me or complete me, but because I want to. Because you're my best friend and I trust you, and I think we could build something really good together. David's face broke into the biggest smile I'd ever seen. He pulled a ring box from his pocket. He'd been carrying it around, waiting for the right moment, and opened it. The ring was simple, a single diamond on a white gold band. Nothing flashy, perfect. I love you, he said, sliding it onto my finger. I love you too. We sat there for a long time, holding hands, planning a future that felt real and possible and completely our own. We got married in a small ceremony at the courthouse, just like Ryan and I had. But this time it felt completely different. This time Lily was there as my maid of honor, wearing a dress she'd picked out herself. Jessica was there with Marcus, who'd just turned 2 and kept trying to eat the flowers. Dr. Park was there, beaming with pride. Amanda Torres was there, having become a friend through all the legal chaos. And Rachel Cooper flew in from Boston, bringing her new girlfriend and a gift basket of fancy chocolates. To new beginnings, she'd said, hugging me tight. The ceremony was brief. We exchanged vows we'd written ourselves, honest, vulnerable, full of promises we actually intended to keep. I promise to always tell you the truth, I said, even when it's hard, even when I'm scared. I promise to be patient, David said, to let you heal at your own pace, to never push you beyond what you're ready for. I promise to trust you, to believe that not everyone will hurt me. I promise to prove that you can trust me every single day. When the judge pronounced us married, Lily cheered. Marcus clapped his chubby toddler hands. Jessica cried happy tears, and I kissed my husband, my real husband, my chosen husband, and felt something I'd never felt before: certainty. This was right. This was real. This was mine. 2 years after the phone call. It was October again. 2 years since that middle-of-the-night phone call that had destroyed everything I thought I knew about my life. I was sitting in my backyard, the same backyard where Ryan had once pretended to be a loving stepfather, but it didn't feel haunted anymore. It felt like home. Lily was 10 now, tall and confident, and so much like Marcus in the good ways. She played soccer and took piano lessons and was considering whether she wanted to learn archery or join the debate team. Baby Marcus was 2.5, talking in full sentences, now calling me Aunt Sarah with perfect clarity. He looked like his father, but had Jessica's green eyes and her quick smile. Jessica and I weren't just co-parenting anymore. We were friends, real friends. We had lunch once a week, texted daily, called each other when we needed advice. The years of estrangement felt like something that had happened to different people. David came out of the house carrying 2 glasses of iced tea. He'd moved in 6 months after we got married, and the transition had been easier than I'd expected. He fit into our lives naturally, helping with homework, cooking dinner, fixing things around the house, being present without being overbearing. "Penny for your thoughts?" he asked, sitting beside me. "Just thinking about how different everything is now. 2 years ago, I was married to a murderer and didn't know it. My sister was pregnant with my dead husband's baby. My entire life was a lie. And now I'm married to a man who actually loves me. My sister is my best friend. I have 2 kids instead of 1. I've learned to trust my instincts again. I'm happy." I looked at him. "Really, genuinely happy." "Good." He kissed my temple. "You deserve that." "We all do." My phone buzzed. A text from Rachel. "Just got engaged to the woman I told you about. Can you believe it?" I smiled and texted back, "Congratulations." Rachel had rebuilt her life too. We all had. "What are you thinking about?" David asked, watching my face. "About resilience. About how people can survive terrible things and still build good lives afterward. About how I was so scared I'd never trust anyone again, never love anyone again. But here I am. Here you are." "Here we are." Lily came running out of the house. "Mom, Uncle David Marcus drew all over the walls with marker." "Which walls?" I asked, standing up. "The living room. And his bedroom. And maybe the hallway." David and I looked at each other and started laughing. Because this was real life. Marker on the walls, kids making messes, the mundane chaos of a family. Not perfect. Not picture perfect or Instagram worthy or anything like the life I thought I wanted. But real. Honest. Mine. "Come on," I said, taking David's hand. "Let's go see the damage." We walked inside together, ready to handle whatever came next. Because that's what you do. You survive. You rebuild. You choose to keep going. And somehow, impossibly, you find that the life you build from broken pieces is stronger than the one you lost. Sarah Mitchell learned what many survivors learn, that betrayal doesn't define you. How you rise from it does. She lost a husband to murder, discovered her marriage was a lie, nearly died at the hands of someone she trusted. But she didn't let those experiences destroy her. Instead, she chose to rebuild, to trust again, to love again, to create a family from the ashes of everything she'd lost. She learned that strength isn't about never breaking. It's about breaking and putting yourself back together. About letting people help you. About accepting that healing isn't linear, and that's okay. Most importantly, she learned that she was enough, just as she was. Not because a man validated her. Not because she performed perfectly. Simply because she existed, she survived, she chose to keep trying. And that's the lesson we all need to learn. You are enough. You can survive anything. And on the other side of survival is a life worth living.